actually noticed somebody is wearing something tonight that I'd like to borrow. There he is. What's your name?
Lucas.
Lucas? Lucas, okay. With a K. Lucas with a K. I'm sure that's important to you. and that makes it important to me, so that's good. It's you and me against the rest of the room. So, so Lucas with a K, I'd like you to come up here. Give him a big round of applause. And Lucas, what I noticed is you're wearing a flannel. Can you take your phone out and put it in another pocket? Is there anything else in in that pocket, anywhere else on the overshirt that you have? Would you mind removing that, which is very exciting? Yeah, good. No. Just kind of shake it out so that it's flat, so everybody can see. It looks, kind of like you've had that for a while. It's not a new one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a few more guys. How about the guy that was next to you? What's your name, sir? Christian, come on up here, Christian. And then a couple of guys from this side. Yeah, you can applaud for Christian. These two guys on the end, front row and second row. You guys come on up here. Yeah. That's terrific. Come on over here. Lucas and Christian. And what's your name? Nathan. You can shake my hand. That's what we do in polite company. Okay. I know you've been spending a lot of time looking at a screen. This is how we do it in real life. And you are? Grant. Okay. So we have Nathan, Grant. We've got Lucas and Christian. Lucas with a K and Christian. Hi, guys. Here's what I'd like you to do. Lucas, I'm going to take your shirt, and I'm just going to kind of hold it like this. See how my hand is right there? Do the same thing with your hand. Right there. That's perfect. Come in close, Nathan. Yeah. And do the same thing, just like that, so we can see the back of the shirt. Now, I'm going to need Christian to come over here and kind of grab the material right there and hold it nice and tight. And again, Grant. Good memory, Grant. Don't forget. Okay, I'm going to have you hold it like that. Now, here's what you need to do, guys. You need to hold it as flat and as perfect as possible, so cooperation is key. So, Lucas, come in a little closer.
A little closer?
Yep, that's perfect, just like that. You see this square right here? I have a knife. It's not just any knife. I don't know if we have any artists in the audience. X-Acto. Oh, Lucas is an artist. This is even better. Okay. We have an X-Acto knife here. It's basically like an artist's scalpel. It's an extremely sharp knife. Okay? So everybody with your free hand, please do not cut yourself open, but go ahead and check that to make sure that it is indeed as sharp as it appears to be. There you go. Would you do that? That's fantastic. I don't trust you. Okay, so now, you have to look at my hands because I have absolutely nothing else on me. Now, if you can't see this right here from the distance you are, we're going to have a close-up on that square right there. And this knife goes underneath, and I'm going to try to get it centered in that square. See? Right? I didn't trust you before, but I trust you now. That is the tip of the knife. It's already starting to cut through. I want you to just touch the tip of the knife. See how sharp that is? Check this out. Lucas with a K, I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Is this your favorite shirt?
I don't know about anymore. Is it about to be?
Well, I think it will be. I think you're going to have a memory in a second. But whenever I do this kind of stuff, people always wonder, is it really going through the shirt? It couldn't possibly be cutting through the shirt. Otherwise, why would I put a piece of paper over it, right? Makes perfect sense, but here. Yeah. Not only that, that's a real slit. There's a hole in there. And look, I'm going to put my finger underneath it like this so you can see the hole. Now, it's a tiny hole that most people wouldn't even notice. But that doesn't mean I won't go further, because I will. I'm gonna try to make that hole just a little bit bigger. It's all right, Lucas, with a K. Got to be careful. You could cut yourself. You can see it tearing the fabric. Can you see it? Look, right there.
Yeah.
And if we slice it, just like this, then I can make that hole in the shirt big enough to pull the knife right through. Now, Lucas, just grab onto that with one of your hands.
Gotcha.
Let me just take a look here. Fudge. It's because you're here. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the kind of fudge that everybody else eats. No. Don't worry about it. Just a little rub like this. And I want you guys to look at that square. Right where that hole was. Well, the first trick in this mixed bag of magic is a variation on the knife-through coat. Now, I did my own handling back in lesson 42, so if you like the knife-through coat, you may want to check that one out as well. But what sets this one apart is actually the knife and that it really does go through the fabric. Now, I'm not using a coat for a reason that you're going to see in just a moment, but I'm using these flannels instead. And that's because there has to be a very specific relationship between the material and the knife itself. And the knife I've chosen is an X-Acto blade because the width of the blade of the knife has to be very specific. It can be no wider than 5/16. So I take an X-Acto knife and I grind the blade down. Now I'm going to take this out of the holder here so that you can see the base of the blade there. What I've done is I have ground off this side using a rotary tool and a grinder bit. I've ground off this side to narrow the whole blade down, and I've given it a little bit of a curve. I'm going to put it right there against my tie so you can kind of see this. It curves out a little bit at the tip to narrow it down here. And then I've ground off this side so it's about even. In addition to that, I then take the grinder and I grind off the sharpness of the blade. Oh, that probably makes you nervous to watch me do that, but no, I can't possibly cut my finger. That blade has been dulled. So that's also important. It's been narrowed and dulled. The point is still super sharp. That's the only part of it that remains sharp. Other than that, the entire blade is dull. You still leave the beveled edges on it, and it will look like a sharp knife. You put it into an X-Acto holder, and people will think that it is. Now, the blade also sets down inside the holder like this typically, so I just pull it up a little bit to give myself a little bit more blade so that the audience can see it going through a little bit better. So, it gives you, say, 1/8 of an inch more. So that's the setup there. Now, what I like to do is to get a cover for it. It helps because obviously the point's still sharp, but just by having a cover over it like that and taking it off during the performance, everyone assumes that it's sharp. They see that action and they just think, that's got to be a super sharp blade. So, this is your setup for it. Dull blade, sharp point, narrow, and you need a fabric that has kind of a loose weave to it. So you can't use a knit fabric because a knit fabric all binds up together. So you have to use a woven fabric, which is kind of a standard thing, but not a tight weave. Flannel is absolutely perfect for this. So if you're performing it on stage, for a show like I'm doing it, you'll want to bring some flannel shirts with you, and you'll want to have a selection of them. So one of them is a large shirt that would be perfect to go with just about any young man's outfit. So that can be thrown over somebody wearing a t-shirt, no problem at all. The other one is a medium shirt that is also kind of a non-gender specific color. So if you've got a kind of a smaller guy, he can wear that one. If you've got a girl that you can put this on, she can wear this one. So you can give these pre-show to somebody in the audience for them to wear, or if you happen to see somebody in the audience that has the right kind of cloth on, you can use that. The problem, though, with this is that it won't work with most jackets. This jacket is a loose weave, but it has, like all dress coats, a lining. This lining is a tight weave. So you can't go through the lining in this jacket. You could go through this material, but it's doubled over here at the edges. So what you'd have to have is a sport coat that's unlined, something that might be worn, say on the southern coast. So if you're working in Miami or Seattle, you should be absolutely perfect with this. You can do it impromptu with a lot of people there, or you're going to have to plan ahead to use these. So let me show you what happens. I'm going to use the blue one here just because the blade shows up a little bit better against the blue one. All that's happening is when you put the knife through, it's pushing the threads apart. So the point's very important because it does the initial penetration of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a white spot here, and we're going to get a nice tight close-up right on that white spot right there. And then I'm going to push the blade from the opposite side right through that spot. You can see the point of the blade starting to come through. And if I wiggle it side to side, it looks like it's cutting, but it's not. It's actually just pushing those threads apart. And I'm just going to continue to wiggle it until it pops right over the edge. And there it is, like that. So it really appears as though it's cut through there, but if you look, right down at the very, very end of it, as tight as possible there, give just a second, you can actually see the threads are pushed up by it and are wrapping around it. So now, keeping that shot, we're going to just pull this right out. It'll be hidden for a second, but it leaves what appears to be a cut. It is not. Those threads, none of them are broken or cut if you've done it right. They're all continuous, and all you have to do is pull on both sides of the hole like that. The threads move back into place, and then you give it a little rub like this, and it's just as good as new. There's absolutely no hole there except for the holes made by the weaving of the threads. So that's it. It's really just a way of pushing the threads out of the way to let the blade really go through the cloth between the threads. Looks fantastic. Now, when I did it in performance, I used kind of the traditional handling by putting the piece of paper over it, having the people hold it out, stretched out, and then putting the blade through the cloth and the paper. That actually is pretty good because it hides the fact that you're wiggling it and twisting it and all that kind of stuff. But in doing this many, many times, I've decided that the best way to do it is impromptu and to just do it with no paper whatsoever and push the blade through and let people see that it's penetrating it. They will believe that it's cutting those threads. If you don't let them get way too close on it, then pull it out, put it away, and restore the hole with your fingers, just like I did here to demonstrate how it works. The look of that hole is very deceptive. The look of this blade is very deceptive, and you should be carrying a duplicate that you switch in when you put this away before you restore the hole. So you start to put that away, and then you just set the duplicate off to the side, then restore the hole. So now when anybody looks at that duplicate knife, it's super sharp, and nobody could duplicate what you've done. Now, having said that, there are also some alternatives. In the original write-up of this, you would get a pocket knife, the smallest pen knife that you could find. Now, this is the smallest pen knife that I could currently find. It's a buck knife, and very, very small. You would have to do the same thing that I did to narrow that blade. For comparison's sake, let's just hold the widest part of that knife up to the narrowest part. And you can see that I have drawn a black line on there with a Sharpie pen to show you how much of the buck knife blade has to be filed off. It's a substantial amount. In my mind, it would make that buck knife look really weird. The blade would be far, far too thin to make it deceptive. But you could do it that way. The other option, which I think is a really good one, is to get yourself a cheap set of paring knives. If you do any cooking, you know what a paring knife is, just to peel off the peel on an apple, something like that. And you can see these knives are typically this wide, but I have one in the package because all I've done is open up the corner here so I can hold it next to the other ones. I've already shaved this one down. So if I take this out and you didn't see it compared to its neighbors, this would be the narrowness of that blade. To me, that looks like an unusual chef's knife, so I think you would be able to get away with doing it with a paring knife with a solid blade like this. So this one has been prepared, and then there's been a little bit of edge. After it's been shaved down, I put a little bit of edge on there just by putting some sandpaper on it and running it across. That makes it look sharp. This one doesn't have a very sharp point, so it takes a little bit more effort to wiggle it between the threads, but let's just poke it through the shirt. We're going to go, let's just say we go with this white spot right there. And I'll poke the knife in from the opposite side. There, wiggle, 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 spreading the threads. The benefit of this knife is the length of the blade. So when you see that, that can be seen pretty easily from a good distance that's going through the threads. It does exactly the same thing. You pull that back out. You would have to make a knife that is then this narrow and this sharp if you want to switch it in, but the hole heals up just as easily. It's actually identical to using the X-Acto knife. You just get a longer blade to do it. I think, my personal opinion is, the X-Acto knife looks sharp, goes through quickly, convinces everybody you put a hole in it, you switch it out, and then you can heal that hole up. So this is what sets this particular version apart, is using a dull, narrow knife and very specific fabrics. Now, it will work on other fabrics, not just flannel, not just wool, but you'd have to find those fabrics. You'd have to go to a fabric store and test every kind, get familiar with them. The inventor of this, Harrison, that's exactly what he did. In his day, he tested every fabric so he could do it impromptu just by seeing somebody that was wearing something that would be appropriate. It was pretty common in those days to wear some loosely woven clothes because textile manufacturing was still, becoming a much more regular form of weaving. So now on the high-speed machines, everything's a nice tight weave, so you got to be a little bit more careful. Well, that's how this one works. If you want to know a little bit more about transferring the knife then from one side to the other, it's a simple matter. Basically, I'll just show you using the X-Acto knife. All you're doing is you've got the paper over the top of the fabric. You're pushing this through, wiggling it through the fabric, and making a hole in the paper. Then you're going to remove the paper and bring it to the edge of the fabric. So the two guys are holding the sides. You remove this and bring it to the edge of the fabric, and they can see the point of the knife there. You now pull the knife out to show them the hole. You point to it, and when you start to put it underneath the fabric, you just put it under the paper and move your hand underneath the fabric. Then move the paper on the top of the fabric over the hole, and then you're going to re-grip the handle through the fabric, poke that through. It's now above the fabric, but it looks very, very similar. And in this case, I like to just tear it a little bit and then push the rest of the blade through, pull it all the way through, and show that it heals. Again, my opinion after performing the knife through coat many, many times, this version is so much better without the paper. And if you like the knife through coat, you'll want to go back to lesson 42 and check out my handling of it that uses pretty much any knife and no paper. Who's got a butt? Oh, I know you really well, Tony. You've been here before. What's your name?
Garrett.
Garrett?
Yeah.
All right, Garrett, thanks. Garrett's $1 bill. This is a really, really fun trick that I like to do this whenever I'm out with my friends. It's very entertaining. It's quite amusing. Good, you're still smiling. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I told you it was funny. Yeah, still happy? Okay, good. You're probably not too worried, are you? I do magic, so what do you got to worry about, right? All I have to do is put the pieces back together, put that $1 bill back together. And to do that, I need some kind of a magic wand. So I happen to have one with me here. All magicians carry a magic wand with them. Mine is a little bit more pedestrian than you might expect. A Sharpie marker. And with a simple wave over the... Garrett, is it? Yeah? Garrett, you see, what I intended to do was to take that dollar bill out of my pocket and secretly switch it for the torn pieces of the dollar bill that you loaned me. I'm sorry about that. See, this one is a whole dollar bill. So you're not at all impressed, are you? Yeah. Well, it's a tough spot to be in when you really want to entertain people. I'm going to have to resort to real magic. I can put your dollar bill back together. Is that cool? It's your choice. Which one do you want? You want your original dollar bill, the one that you loaned me, or do you want the other one?
The other one.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. You want your original one?
Sure.
You can take the rest of it off if you want. There you go. Okay, this trick is a variation, obviously, on the torn and restored tissue paper. And in the original version, tissue paper was used. Now, before I explain the method, you're probably curious about the title of the trick. And that phrase, "I doed it," it comes from a phrase that was made famous by Red Skelton, comedian who was very, very famous around the time that this trick was invented. So in the original version of the trick, when the paper was restored, it had that phrase on it, and there was something leading up to it. Now, modern audiences obviously are not going to remember that. They're not going to be familiar with that phrase, so that had to be changed. And what I like to do very often when it comes to tearing and restoring paper is to use money instead, just because it makes it more interesting for the audience. They're emotionally involved with the money. In this case, it's only $1. It could be whatever denomination you want to, but you are going to really be tearing one of them up. So, for me, tearing up $1 doesn't bother me at all, but it still freaks some people out, which is something that I kind of like to do. You'll need $2 of your own. One of them, you're going to take some painter's tape, and you're going to tape it like this. Once, 3 times vertically, and then once across the center, so that it looks like it's taped together as though it has been torn into 8 pieces. So this stuff, doesn't have a very strong adhesive on it, so it will peel off of the dollar relatively easily. So that's the preparation for this one. And this one, you are going to be folding it and clipping it underneath the Sharpie marker. I have also changed the method for ringing in the other dollar from what Frank Kelly had. He had a holdout that was underneath the side of his jacket, so that when he would drop the one piece and lean down, he would switch the piece that he had for the holdout piece. The problem with that is that there's a lot of heat on your hands the whole time. So it's better for you to get rid of everything right at the beginning and not have to, conceal your hands at all. So in this version of it, the hand that's apparently holding the torn bill never leaves the audience's sight. You're doing the whole thing with sleight of hand. It's pretty easy sleight of hand, too. Now, your other dollar bill, so that's the one with the tape. Your other dollar bill is going to be folded up into 8ths, and you want it folded in such a way that you can open it with one hand, because you're going to be doing that for the audience. So pretty simple to do. That's folded into 8ths, and that is loose in your right pocket with the pen point down, also in the right pocket, so that both of those bills are together, but one of them is loose and one of them is clipped. The other dollar comes from the audience. This is the one that you're going to be borrowing from the spectator in the audience. So you can put your sleeves up because you aren't going to be using them, and then you tear their bill in half in front of them and show it, and then tear it again and show those pieces, and then tear it again. So now you have 8 pieces. Now what you want to do here is to make sure that those 8 pieces will not come apart. So you need to have 2 folds in them and make sure that they're nice and tight. They will not come apart. So I pass them from hand to hand a couple of times. I show them like this. I'm also preparing the audience for the sleight of hand switch, which is very, very simple. All I'm going to do is act like I pass it back into my left hand, and I'm going to gently put my thumb on it like this and then close my hand so that my right hand can now look pretty relaxed. Now that's opposed to doing this, which is a typical finger palm and looks like you're stealing something out. These right fingers close and you don't want them to. So instead, just gently put your thumb on it, tip it like that, and then your hand moves to your pocket immediately. So I've gone back and forth, back and forth. I do a false transfer, holding it in place with my thumb. My right hand then goes to my pocket. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take these torn pieces and I'm going to tuck them up at the top of the pocket out of the way and this hand stays here, there's nothing in it. I'm going to reach down to the point of the pen. I'm going to take the loose bill and hold it loosely in my fingers and pull the pen out and turn it around. So in my pocket everything is like this. So what I'm actually doing in my pocket is turning it around like that and putting the loose bill here on the outside of the pen. So now when I come over to wave over my hand, I can release the loose bill and it'll drop all the way to the floor or the table, and then I can act like I didn't intend for that to happen. Now while the audience is looking at that, with my right hand I am slipping the other bill out of the clip of the pen and moving the pen back into place, all just acting like I made a mistake. So when I put the pen into my mouth and I act like I transferred this bill, which is non-existent now, into my right hand, all I'm doing is a fake shuttle pass, so with nothing to begin with here. So I'm going to put this into my mouth and then do this to reveal that bill. So now I still have this in my mouth. I'm going to pick up the other bill and talk. I'm kind of using this like it's a cigar. Okay? So I'm going to pick up this, I'm going to unfold that one and show it. There's that bill. Then I'm going to transfer this one to my fingertips and that bill clip there, trying to keep everything out in the open. Wave this over that bill and then unfold it and show that it's taped together. So you get a couple of jokes there, and then you can get rid of the pen, and one of the bills doesn't matter as long as you've got this one here. You give either one to the spectator, but ultimately you're going to show that this isn't just taped together. That's the real mystery, is how this one got the tape on it and then also became restored. So you peel a few of those off and then give that away to somebody, and the actual torn bill was long gone, way before the ending revelation. This trick is obviously a variation on what's come to be known as the gypsy thread, but this one's done with yarn. Now, in the original version of this, there was also kind of a special holder that was made to hold out the restored piece that you're switching in for the pieces that you're going to be tearing up. So I eliminated that holder because it really was unnecessary. Once you load those extra pieces, or the extra long piece, into your hand, then you get rid of the holder and then do it just the way that you've seen it. So you're better off not having that extra holder and simply using a piece of the yarn that is twice as long as you need. Now, the kind of yarn that you're going to have to get is the kind that you can break with your hands. So you're going to want something like this. This is known as chenille yarn. It's basically a fuzzy kind of yarn that is really only held together by a couple of strands of thread in the very center. So all you're doing are breaking a couple of pieces of thread and not a thick piece of yarn. But this stuff shows up really well from a distance. So this is what you're looking for. It's called chenille yarn. Chenille is the French term for caterpillar. This sort of looks like a caterpillar. So this is the stuff you want. And then all you're going to do is you're going to take a length of it, however long you want the thread to be, the yarn to be at the end, and you're just going to double it over. Let's get that length there, and then you're just going to break it off. And the rest of it you save for the next show. So now you have a piece that's twice as long as you need, and then you're going to start at the end of one of them, leave some of it sticking out. Now, it's a good idea on that end to tie a couple of knots so that you'll be able to feel the end that you're going to need to pull later. So you double that over, you put a couple of knots there. Now you're going to leave some of that sticking out, and you're going to start accordion pleating that yarn about 2 inches long or so until you get near the halfway point. So you're going to want to know exactly where that halfway point is. So as you get near to it, then you're going to start wrapping the yarn around itself to make a tighter bundle. You don't want to double that bundle over, because when you pull this end, you're going to want to be able to pull the whole thing out straight. So that's the situation you want to get into, and then you're going to take that piece that you've been wrapping around, tuck it under itself, and pull it tight to hold it in place. That's the preparation. Very similar to what modern presentations are done for the gypsy thread, but this works really well with this particular kind of yarn. So now you've got that bundle made. Now what you want to do is take the rest of it and loosely wrap it around, very loosely, like so. So this is the thing that you're going to start out with. So you bring that out, and you can feel the end that has the knot in it. That's the end that you're going to leave over to the left-hand side for me, because I'm right-handed. And with your right hand, you're going to undo the loosely bundled part until the tight bundle stays in your left hand. So you stop at that point, and then stretch everything out and try to get both hands in the same position. Your left hand can't change because it's hiding that bundle, so your right hand has to simulate it. I see a lot of guys make the mistake of doing this because their right hand is so free that they forget that if you can't do that with your left hand, don't do it with your right hand. So keep them both in the same position like this and display it, and then you're going to come over and break the thread. So you're going to break it close to that hidden bundle, and at this point you can start to be a little bit more free with your right hand because it looks like your left hand is just letting those pieces lay there. You're going to want to break a couple of pieces, and then you can start to open your left hand a little bit more, and you continue to break the pieces until you have them all about the same length. Don't have any extra short pieces. If you have a piece that's a little too long, break it in half. You don't want little short pieces because you'll get in trouble. Those will fall out. So these pieces are fine. They all get laid together like this. Now you're going to fold all of the broken pieces from the bottom up, and then from the top down. But before you do that, you have to feel up here which one of these has the knot in it, because that's the one that you're going to be pulling. So right there is the one that has the knot in it. So you feel those pieces, you get the knot out of the way, you fold the other pieces over, and make sure that they're folded next to the bundle. So those are kind of forward in front of the bundle. So that's the position that you're in. Now what you're going to do is you're going to use your right hand to grab all of the loose pieces and the end with the knot, while your left hand retains the bundle. So your right hand grabs all of the loose pieces and the knot, your left hand retains the bundle, but as you pull the knot, your right hand pulls off to the side, your left hand can stay closed. It's basically pulling from the inside of that bundle so that it comes out without binding up at all. If you do end up with that little slip knot, you just give it a little pull just like I did. It'll pop out of the way. So you pull this out from your left hand. Now at this point, you want to try to make your right hand as relaxed as possible, and then pull everything out of your left hand and keep your left hand closed. So as you show your right hand, your left hand stays closed. Then you can open it and start to bundle everything up with your right hand, put everything together, wad it all together as though it is just one single piece. The other benefit of using this chenille is that they will stick together momentarily. So then you can either put that in your pocket or throw it away. And it's a pretty good presentation for the gypsy thread that is very visible if you want to perform it on stage. Oh, and in every party, the most important thing to have is some snacks. Everybody enjoying all the free drinks and snacks we have over here? All right. I didn't put these out. Peanut M&Ms. Yeah, I see you right now. You wish you had these. All right. I have them. I brought them along with me. I will give you some of them. As a matter of fact, let me take a few of these out. I want some different ones. Yeah, I want that one, and gotta find a good one. Ooh, yeah, it's a good one. Yeah. No, I want that one right there. All right, that's cool. The rest of those go back in there. Boom. Ooh, trying to get away. I don't want those two. I touched these, but you won't know which ones they are. So it won't really matter. Now I'll pass these out. You can have as many of those as you want and then pass them on. All right? Because I'm going to show you some magic that you can do at your next party. All you need are 4 peanut M&Ms. Just like these 4 right here. A couple of bowls. You grab these from the kitchen. Now this used to be a super classy effect. No, really. Isn't that pretty? Yeah, it's nice. All right. Oh, you also need a magic wand. Just grab any knife. Doesn't matter. You probably have one, but if you have one in the kitchen, just grab that one. All right. You cover them all up, and then the most important thing is you keep your magic wand handy. You got to have it someplace you can get to it really easy. Because what you do is this. However many M&Ms you put underneath the bowl, you tap it that many times. And one of them disappears from underneath the bowl. Yeah, I know, it's weird, isn't it? Yeah. That leaves 3 over here, and one of them goes over there. Always keep the magic wand handy. That's the yellow one, in case you guys weren't paying attention. You may not have noticed that orange one going over there, but there it is. Yep. it gets more difficult, a little bit more challenging is like the way I like to call it, a little bit more challenging. Because now people start to pay attention. Before, they're like, oh yeah, I'm kind of confused. There's too many to watch. But now you know which ones are left here, don't you? Don't worry about it. I'll go for the red one. There it is. Did you see it? That leaves the blue one behind. That means that the red one has gone over here to join those. Yeah, just that quick. That's 1, 2, 3 that have gone. That leaves only the blue one behind. And I got to tell you, the best thing about that trick is that you can eat it. So this is my take on a Silent Mora creation of the traveling marbles. And there are many effects that are kind of like this, where a number of objects travel one at a time to some other place. What sets this one apart is that you don't get one ahead at all. You're actually causing them to travel when you say you are. Now, you're a little bit off from when you say you're causing them to travel, but we'll get there. You'll see what I mean. Now, in Silent Mora's original, he used marbles, but you can use really any small objects. So what I've found is that very often, if somebody has peanut M&Ms around for some reason in their house, you can do this impromptu. You just borrow a couple of bowls from their cupboard and a knife as a magic wand. I use a magic wand. He didn't. You'll see why I do in a second. What you want to do is to get 4 of them that are different colors. Now, you can do as many or as few as you want, but he did 4, so just in keeping with tradition, that's what I'm doing. You get 4 different colors, and you want them to be approximately the same size, and I like them to be as big as possible so they're nice and visible. The rest of them, you can give away to everybody else. So obviously, if snacks are set out and peanut M&Ms are among them, this is a natural to do at pretty much any party. Okay, so once you have that, there's really no preparation. It's all done, like I said, impromptu with no gimmicks, but you have to learn a couple of simple moves. So the basis of this is that you're doing a pick-up and a lay-down move with your right hand. It goes like this. As you grab the bowl, Silent Mora did it with hats. I'm doing it with bowls just because nobody wears hats anymore. So as you pick it up, you put your fingers on the inside and turn it over to put it over whatever the marbles are. Now I'm going to do that same action but without the bowl to show you what the move is. You pick it up, you lay it down like this, and as you come to the last one, you're going to clip it right here between your fingers and then continue. And then as you turn your hand, your thumb will come down here and roll that inside your hand, and your hand will come up to the wand. Now the first one, it'll come over to the wand, and from that point on, the wand will be here. So the move is pretty easy to do, but it has to be done smoothly, like that. It has to be no hesitation. So that's what's going to happen with the first lay down. So I pick up the bowl, I place it over like this, it gets laid over those, the marble, or in this case the M&M is picked up, placed there, the wand gets put up under my arm. Now, you'll notice that I also do a little ringing of these. Very important that you don't do that with all china because some of it will crack if you do that, but these are the technically unbreakable kind, so you want to test it first before you do that. It's a nice touch, you know. Now all you're going to do is you're going to take that hidden M&M and you're going to place it inside the bowl and then lay it down. And this is where you should have a soft surface. If you don't have a soft surface, what has to happen is that you have to transfer it back between your knuckles when you get to this position and then lay your knuckles down on the table before you release. You can do this on a solid surface, but it's a lot more challenging. So I always like to perform it on a tablecloth, or in this case, a close-up pad. So now you've got the knife there. Now, the reason I like the magic wand is because it reminds the audience how many things are supposed to be over here. Because I say you tap it the number of times that there are M&Ms. So I tap 4 times. and then I act like I take the last one and drop it here. Now the wand's going to go here. I'm going to pick up the bowl with my left hand. This is a slight choreography change from the original, but I really like what happens because of it. I'm going to pick it up with my left hand to show those, place my right hand in, and then my left hand's going to go to the other bowl, and then this is the moment that I use. Now, when Silent Mora did it, he would show both of them, and then he would lay them down singly again. But I like to use the misdirection of that revelation to do the second steal. So my timing is that I show this, place it here. Then as I place this bowl down, I lift this one just a moment before to show that that's arrived. And over here, I'm stealing the next one and then coming up to the magic wand so that that one's arrived. So now we just do the same thing again. This hand's going to go inside, place that gently against the side, leave it down there with the other one, come back to the wand. 3 taps. Don't let yourself get confused because you know that there are 2 and 2. The audience thinks there's 3 and 1. Take that piece, act like you drop it there. Left hand comes over, picks that up. You get a little bit of applause or recognition for that one. You lay this down. You steal another one as you show those and tap there. So each time I'm stealing the next one in line. I'm going to do the same thing again here. Lay it down like that. Put this here. Oh, the wand, of course, goes back into the same position. And then this is where it gets interesting for me because I want to change it up just a little bit. So I do 2 taps, drop it there. And then this time when I show this one and I cover it and show those, instead of going to the wand, I'm going to go here and pick these up and toss them in one at a time. First one goes in by itself, second one by itself, and the third one I drop everything inside and make sure that it's above eye level. Then bring the wand out. Now you just bring this down and quickly flip it over so that all 4 of them are there. Then make a slight adjustment. Stand back and do the last one. Place the wand in the center to create the divide and pick them both up. And the last one goes across, one last tone. Makes it really nice and classy for borrowed objects. Plus, like I said, you get to eat it. Give me a second. That's a lot of M&Ms. I need something to wash that down. That's good. It's not as good as what I usually drink, but it's good. My doctor says I should drink healthier stuff, so that's what I'm trying to do. But you look really stupid drinking milk. You do. As an adult, it's just a dumb thing, you know. Here, let me see if I can look a little bit more cool. You just take one of these, right, and you cover it with that. And then you look a lot more cool, right? No? Wait a second. What I really want is a beer. Let's see. Let's put it there. The only problem with that is whoever gets the beer. They're going to be pissed. Okay, this is a pretty weird transposition that was originally done with milk and a silk handkerchief. I have obviously replaced the silk handkerchief with something more near and dear to my heart, and that is beer. The reason I've done that is because I wanted to get rid of, obviously, any of the things that wouldn't be commonplace in the environment to really solidify what the effect is, that it's a transposition between two liquids under impossible circumstances. Now, to be able to perform this, you are going to need some milk. You are going to need some beer, and that beer has been removed from that can without opening the can, and other milk has been put into that can. Now, I'm going to tell you how to do that later. Don't let that bother you. I know it's going to trouble you until I tell you how that's done. I'll tell you after I do the whole thing so that it'll make sense. But for right now, that's the situation. This can is filled with milk. That was the beer that was originally in the can. Now, in addition to that, you're also going to need one of these red Solo cups, and it should be a size that fits over the clear cup that you're using. And then you're going to make a special gimmick. This special gimmick right here is made out of a matching clear cup to this one. And then it's been cut out at the bottom and slit along the side and painted with white enamel paint. You should use brush-on paint, not spray paint for this. They have some good spray paint that works okay, but it just doesn't give you the same kind of thick, milky look to it. So I suggest definitely using a brush-on enamel. And then I cut the top edge a little rough and add things that kind of look like bubbles to it. You can make it straight if you want to. It really depends on how you think milk looks after it's poured. This milk is settled, but if you pour it from high enough, you sort of get a foamy look on the top of it. So that's what I do. Oh, this has to be powdered as well. Put a little bit of baby powder on it because you don't want it to stick to the other cup. And it has to be slit open before you put it onto the other cup. If you make this thing and slide it onto another plastic cup, you may not be able to get it to come off of there because that enamel paint will adhere right to the sides of the plastic. But once this is slipped over the glass that has beer in it, it looks then like a cup that has milk in it. That's what you're going for. Now, of course, if you look down from the top, you can see that there's beer there, but as long as it's held at an angle at eye level for everybody, it looks good. And it only has to look good for a couple of seconds anyway during the routine. Now, originally this routine was done by wrapping a piece of glossy paper around the outside of a glass, an actual glass. And you would think that that wouldn't look so good, but look at a glass of milk sometime. This is a pretty good example because this is a thick plastic glass. It looks like the white is on the outside just because of the refraction. So if you take a straight-sided glass and wrap some white glossy paper, like photo paper, around it, leave the bottom exposed, see how the bottom is exposed on this glass, and leave the top exposed like that. As long as the glass has straight sides, it'll look exactly like it contains milk. So you could use that as an option. I really just like to use something that's a lot more commonplace for us now, and I like the fact that the outside of the plastic cup has texture, makes it a little bit more believable. Okay, once this thing is set up, that is the fake milk with the beer on the inside. That goes inside your case so that it's hidden from the audience but exposed to you. And then you also have another clear cup, and this is the one that you're going to visibly pour milk into. That goes right behind it like this. You have your red cup, your red Solo cup, that goes next to it on the other side. You have your beer, which goes next to that. Remember, this is actually filled with milk. I'll tell you how later. Quit bothering me about it. I'm going to tell you. And then the milk goes here. You can use, of course, a bottle of milk if you want to, or just a glass like I have there. So the whole sequence is pretty easy. Whenever you want to, you go over, you grab the milk, you open it if you need to, you take the clear cup and you pour it into it, and you do this to approximately the height of the fake. So about right there. Now that's what the audience sees, and you're right next to your case when you do that. So when you turn to put this down, now I'm right-handed, that means the case goes on my left side because my right hand has to cross, and you'll notice how it naturally pushes my left hand into the case to do that. So when I set down the container of milk, I'm going to put the real glass of milk back here, get the fake one, and pick it up in my hand exactly the same way. Now all I do is I keep this at eye level. So this looks like the milk that I just poured. I keep it at eye level. I transfer it to the other hand. I don't look at it because I don't want everybody else to pay too much attention to it. I pick up the red Solo cup and I show it. So it looks like I've poured out a glass of milk, picked up an empty cup, and now I'm going to cover it. So that's the amount of time that that fake has to stay in view. It passes inspection every single time. Nobody ever knows that that's what's going on. Just make sure you don't shake it around too much so they see the beer. So you bring this up. Now you're going to cover it, and you're going to bring both of your hands up to the top so that you can support the clear cup while you let the milk fake drop down. Now, if it doesn't drop down on its own, you can push it with your thumbs, and it'll drop inside. But you don't want the audience to see the beer, so you keep your hands wrapped around it and act like you're taking a drink of milk. So that's your first part, where you're faking it. Then you hold it with one hand. Remember to keep the beer level below the red cup. You hold it with one hand and grab the can of milk that looks like a beer and show it and say, that's what I'd rather have. Then do your transposition. When you pull this out, they'll see the beer immediately, and the best thing is you can quickly flash the interior of the red cup because it's supposed to be white anyway. If you take a long, good look at it, you can see that there's a fake insert in there. But if you simply flash it like that as you put it down, it looks empty. Then your hand goes over here, picks up another glass. I prefer for this glass to be different from that one, because I don't want them to think I've got a bunch of these glasses back here, even though I do. I've got a couple of them. One that has milk in it, one that had beer, and the fake around it. So I pick up a different looking glass. Then I open what they think is the beer. And this is the best part. When you pour that out and they see that it's filled with milk, it gets a crazy good reaction. Now, that's the important part, isn't it? How do you get that milk into that can? Well, because Kieran Johnson is such a great guy and such an inventive mind, he figured that out, and he said, I could teach it to you. So take a look at this. Okay, and now, with the kind permission of Kieran Johnson, I'm going to show you his method for replacing the contents of pretty much any standard can. So you can put anything in there. It doesn't have to be liquid, but it has to be something that will fit through a very small hole. This takes a little bit of patience, a lot of effort, but depending on your situation, it's worth it. The payoff can be pretty strong. Now, in our case, we're going to be replacing the beer with some milk. So you need a few things, as you can see. I like to use a drill to drill the hole in the can, and I'll show you where in a second. This is an 1/8-inch drill bit. And the reason I like that is because it matches the syringe on my flavor injector. This is a marinade flavor injector that you would use to inject sauce into meat before you cook it. If you've been following me along the whole time, you've seen that I've used these when I prepare my hollow eggs. Makes the whole preparation easier. You can just suck the guts right out of them. You're going to do the same kind of thing with the can. But it's the placement of the hole that's really cool. Now, when Kieran does this, he uses a pump. There's a hose that goes on it. It's very, very thin, just like that, about 1/8 inch and around. But I don't think that he's found out about this yet, so he may actually switch to this too. But here's what you're going to do with your can. So when you look at the top of the can, you see the little pull tab right there. There's the large hole up here at the top. Ignore that. And then there's the smaller arc right here. And let's use that injector to point at it. See this little arc right there, just above where it's attached? Well, that's what you're going to be going through, that space. But before you do that, turn the tab 180 degrees so that it's covering over the mouth. So if you look at this point right here, in that gap, that's where you're going to be drilling. Now, if you are drilling into something that's carbonated like beer or a soda, make sure it's had time to settle. Don't jostle it around, and drill easy. So you position it. You drill very carefully and slowly. Don't push it in too much. And once it pops through there, then just pull it right out. So there's where the hole is, right at that spot. I won't tilt it down too far because the liquid will come out. But you take your flavor injector pushed all the way up, put it into that hole, turn it over, whatever container you're going to keep it in, and then slowly pull the liquid out like this. You do it slowly because, again, since it's carbonated, if you do it fast, all you're going to get is foam. Now, because these things only pull out a couple ounces at a time, it's going to take you quite a while to empty this whole can. So you can come back when I've done that. Okay, so we're just about done getting all of the beer out of the can. The hardest part is when you get down to the last few drops that are in there, because with most flavor injectors there are a couple of openings. This one has 2 of them, one on the side there and one on the side here. Now you can seal up one of those openings to make it easier to work with, or you can just do what I do. I just use it the way that it is. And what you want to do is you get both of those up in the can, the lowermost one right on the edge of that hole, and have everything as vertical as possible before you pull it out. So take your time with those last few drops. You get it in just the right place. Pull those out. You should be able to pretty much empty the can entirely. And then what you want to do is take the can over to a sink and suck some water into here, squirt some water into there, suck the water out of it, shake it around, clean the inside of the can out as much as you possibly can, so that you really have nothing left in there, especially if you're going to give it to somebody to drink from it. In our case, we're not going to do that, so it's not going to be as critical, and especially for the explanation. Now, obviously, the next step is, after you remove the contents of the can, you replace the contents of the can. Guess what the method is? Yeah, you suck the milk up into here, or whatever it is that you're going to use, put it into the hole, and inject it. Now, fortunately, this is a lot easier to do than pulling the liquid out. Putting new liquid in, much, much faster, but I won't bore you with it. Come back when I'm done. Okay, and you can tell when you're just about done filling up the can. First of all, you can shake it, and it doesn't slosh around very much. And then second, on one of the squirts in here, instead of spraying out all over the place like you would expect it to, as long as that syringe is far into there, you'll feel back pressure against the syringe. It'll almost stop itself. And when it does, just pull back a little bit, take out some of the fluid, and that way you will have a very full can, not all the way up to the top. And then, of course, you clean off the top of it. And the last thing that you do, and here, let me just dump off a little bit of the excess so that you can see. You would clean this whole thing off and then turn the tab back the normal way. And what happens is, the front lip of the tab covers and seals the hole. So you don't have to worry about any of the fluid coming out of there. You clean it off. It looks just like an ordinary can of beer. And now you're ready to amaze the audience that you can somehow get the milk inside there. Thanks once again to Kieran Johnson for letting me show you his method. Fantastic. Face front, smile real big. You're in show business. Come on over here a little bit closer. That's good. Let me see your cigarette. We're going to be using this as a magic wand. Okay? A magic wand. I'm going to put it right here. Don't worry, you'll get it back when I'm done with it. So a magic wand. First, we have to make sure that the cigarette has some magic. So I want you to examine the handkerchief. That's good. Now, it's just a handkerchief. Yeah? 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 This doesn't really matter. Look, I'm going to put the cigarette underneath the handkerchief like this, right there in the center. I want you to feel it like that. Tappy tap. Tappy tap. That's perfect. Right? Completely surrounded by cloth. You see how it's completely surrounded by the cloth? Yes? No way for that cigarette to get from underneath the handkerchief to the other side of the handkerchief. Do you agree?
I agree.
Silly. All we have to do is rub the tip of the cigarette like this. They're making up their own jokes on that side. I like them. Yeah. Do you want to rub the tip? He's not into it. That's all right. We rub the tip like this. And then I go pap like that, and it pops up through the handkerchief, still completely surrounded by cloth. They missed it because they were laughing. Here. No, that's my cigarette. You get it when I'm done with it. Examine the handkerchief. Perfect. Now, now we're going to try a little bet. Okay? There's a little bet here. Hold your hand like this. Good enough. I'm going to place the cigarette in your fingers like that. Good. Okay? Your job is to remove the handkerchief without dropping the cigarette. But you are not allowed to touch the cigarette with any other part of your person, including your mouth or orifices. You must only touch the corner of the handkerchief and pull it like this, but do not drop the cigarette as you remove the handkerchief. Do you have another cigarette?
Yes.
That one is yours. I shall take a clean one, and if you really, really want it, you can have that one. No? You all right? You sure? You seem a little like you want it.
No.
Trying to give it up, right? No, you're trying to give it
I'm
up.
trying to give it up.
I'm helping you. Thank you. Hold your hand like this. Your job is to remove the handkerchief without dropping the cigarette, merely by grabbing a corner and not touching the cigarette with any other part of your person. Now, I know what's going to happen. I'm just going to ask you, do you want to try again?
Yeah.
Yeah?
No.
You can.
No.
If you drop it again, you sure? You don't want to try again? Do you think that I can do it?
I think so.
All right. Then I don't have to show you. This is a joke. Of course I have to show you. Here's the secret. Don't tell anybody. I grip the cigarette between my fingers and my thumb. I want you to grab the corner of the handkerchief. Go ahead, grab the corner. And slowly pull. Woo. Yeah. Now you know, right? And that's worth something, isn't it?
That's worth it.
Not yet. I have to step outside. Let's do some more magic. Now you have a handkerchief. I also have a handkerchief. We're going to try something with the two handkerchiefs. Here, check this out. We'll put the magic wand right there for later. And then I am going to wrap one handkerchief around the other handkerchief like this. I want you to watch closely. See? One handkerchief on top of the other handkerchief. Are you watching? Mm-hmm. Look, if I wrap this one around this handkerchief like that, now the handkerchiefs are bound together. Yes? Good. And then if I wrap this handkerchief around that handkerchief like that, they're doubly bound together. Yes?
Yes.
It's that simple. Look, if you grab on to the two ends of this handkerchief, and I grab onto the two ends of that handkerchief, then there's no possible way that they could melt apart. See? It's impossible. You don't trust me. I understand that. I don't trust me either. Okay? And so, we're going to tie the handkerchiefs together. It's very simple. All right? Nothing to it. Look. All I'm going to do is I'm going to tie one handkerchief around the other handkerchief like this. It's very simple. It's a square knot, like so. Here, hold on to the ends of your handkerchief. That's the yellow one. Perfect. Yeah, good. And then I tie this handkerchief as tightly as possible around the other one in a square knot. That's two knots. I've lost an end. And therefore, it's impossible. Look, I'm going to put another knot in it. Here, pull your handkerchief nice and tight to make sure that there's no possible way that that handkerchief can come off of there. It's stuck on there, isn't it?
Yes.
You know what I'm going to ask you to do? I want you to tie your handkerchief together just at the ends, not too tight. Go ahead, put a knot in there, and I'm going to leave a little space right here. Yeah, pull it right down to my fingers. Yeah. Oh, ow! I said not so tight. That's fine. Tie on top of it. Go ahead, tie on top. That's perfect. Now, you hold the ends of your handkerchief while I remove my fingers from there. 2 handkerchiefs tied together. Solid knots. Look. If I can separate those handkerchiefs without untying those knots, can I keep the cigarette?
Keep the cigarette.
Can I?
Yeah.
Awesome. Big round of applause. Thank you so much for helping. Okay, to perform this very simple, quick trick where the handkerchiefs melt apart, you are going to be using a method that we've used previously for other tricks to wrap one handkerchief apparently around another one. Now, if you were here for the thumb tie lesson, you learned this for that. If you were here for the very first handkerchiefs lessons, you learned it in that. You can do it with lots of different objects. But once again, to explain it to you, I'm going to try to make it as easy as possible for you to understand. Take one handkerchief of any color and a contrasting one, and you're going to lay them across one another like this so that they form an X, a cross. Now, to make it easy for you, just remember which handkerchief is away from you. Now, I have it, the vertical one, the yellow one, that's away from me, so just remember that. You're going to start with that handkerchief, and you're going to wrap it once around and back to the other side. So it's still technically away from me, but wrapped once around the other handkerchief. So now when you look at the other handkerchief, you can see it coming out both sides of the little wrap there. What you're going to do is you're going to take the part that is closest to your thumb, and you are going to wrap it behind the bottom of the other one, and then back like that. What you have done is to unwrap both of the handkerchiefs. Now, the reason you want to remember which one is away from you is because the one that you just wrapped around, you're going to bring it toward yourself to bring those 2 ends together, and then you're going to take the one that's away from you away from yourself like this. Now, they are slightly tangled in the center, but they're no longer wrapped together. So when you pull them, they will seem to melt apart. So that wrapping sequence again, 1 vertical handkerchief, 1 horizontal handkerchief. I have the vertical one away from me. I take the top of it, I wrap it down and away, and it goes back up to the top. Then I take the horizontal handkerchief, I take the end that's closest to my thumb, I wrap it around, and continue to bring those 2 ends up. The other ends go away. That whole bundle can stay in the center until it's time for it to melt apart like this. So that's the easy way to do it, but it's just such a quick trick. It's also not terribly convincing with the handkerchiefs. It's not really completely clear to the audience, and that's why the next version of it, the one that was invented by Gene Tarbell, that would be Tarbell's son, is actually a lot better. And again, it uses something that you've already seen, and that is a hitch. Basically, it's a square knot that's then been set so that it makes a hitch. Now, the hard part about doing it this way is that you have to tie a square knot in the centers of the handkerchiefs. So I'm going to tell you I'll show you what you would do to go through that. Basically, you're going to tie one handkerchief around the other one right there in the center, and then you're going to continue by tying above that the other overhand knot going the opposite direction. So you're tying a square knot, so if you do right over left to begin with, you do left over right at this point. So you're going the opposite way. And if you've done it properly, you will see that you have both ends of both handkerchiefs coming through loops in the other handkerchiefs like that. That's a square knot tied in the center of the handkerchiefs. Now, that's a hard thing to actually do, and you'll notice that over here on this one, I haven't got it into the center. One of the ends is here, the other end is really long, but on the yellow one, I have gotten it into the center. So whichever one you get it into the center of is going to be the trick handkerchief. You'll hand the other one to the spectator and ask them to pull on the ends. Now, when they pull on the ends, that's when that square knot gets tripped, turning it into a hitch. So now that yellow handkerchief can slide back and forth along the purple one, and it is just hitched in place. So it's not actually, even though it's tied onto it, if you were to grab this part of it, the part of the strap of the hitch that comes around the front, you could pull that handkerchief right off of there. And that's actually how the trick is done. So before you do that, you'll tie the end of the yellow handkerchief a couple of more times. You'll ask the spectator to tie their handkerchief a couple more times. But the knots in this part of it won't affect it at all. When you pull on this, then it undoes the hitch and it comes off, knots and all. Now the reason that I pulled it off like that is to show you that there is a quicker way to get into this, and the audience won't know the difference. The quicker way to get into it, instead of trying to tie a square knot, is to simply start by hitching the one handkerchief onto the other handkerchief. So all you have to do is decide which handkerchief you're going to hitch. So let's hitch the yellow one in place. So you find the center of it. You're going to lay the other handkerchief across it so you basically have a loop coming up over the top. You take the two ends of the yellow handkerchief and wrap them around the other handkerchief and then through that loop at the top. So all I'm doing is making the hitch in the simple action of tying it. So when I pull down like this, I now have technically tied them into a square knot. It's the same thing. It's just faster. It guarantees that it's going to be in the center and that both of the handkerchiefs are centered. At this point, you could give the spectator a choice of handkerchiefs. I don't think that's important. Whichever one they take and pull like that will trip that hitch just like we did before. Now, to show you that the knots don't matter, let's tie a knot above it. Of course, when the spectator ties this, you don't want them to tie it tight down to this one because you still have to be able to pull that to release it. So that's why I put my fingers in there to stop them, because some of the spectators get rather enthusiastic when they're tying the knots. So you don't want that too tight, but you just want the knots tied above it. And then we'll put a couple of knots in the yellow one. This would be my job, putting these in. Again, don't tie them too tight. This is just to make it easier for you later when you have to get those out of there. So the spectator will now be holding the knotted handkerchief at the top. There's the knotted one at the bottom, and you can clearly see this part is all you have to do is pull that down, and it pulls itself right off. Now, of course, you want to do that pretty quickly, and then immediately show that this one is still tied together, and that one is still tied together. If anybody tries to recreate how they were connected, they think they were connected like rings, you know, one going simply straight through the other one, and then the knots have made it impossible for them to separate. So that's a second version that is much better for what is still kind of a simple, quick, throwaway trick. I like to use this kind of stuff just as an introduction or as a little contest or a bar bet, let's say, between you and somebody on stage. So you saw how I use it in the presentation to bet them for the cigarette, and then I take a break with that and leave the stage and introduce the next guest. So kind of an MC bit, but it is a good one to know. Well, here are another couple of quick tricks that are fun to know. They're not necessarily the most impressive magic, but they are fun to work into a little routine, that's kind of interactive with a spectator. Now, you're actually seeing these two tricks out of sequence. Sometimes when I perform them, I'll switch some things around, and in this particular performance, I did these two tricks first, and then ones that you saw earlier where the handkerchiefs are tied around one another and come apart, that was the ending of that particular little routine. So this is how I got into it, by borrowing a cigarette from somebody and having a handkerchief ready. Now, obviously, you don't have to light the cigarette to do this, so you don't have to smoke, but you can also perform this with other items that are cigarette-like, like a short pencil like this one, or a crayon, piece of chalk, something like that. So you can use other items to do it. The first one of these is the pop-up cigarette. And that's where you take whatever it is, you're going to place it into the center of the handkerchief, and you're going to show that there's fabric all the way around it. Now, this is my particular handling on this. Martin Gardner got into it in a slightly different way, but I like to do this like one step at a time, because I like to establish what's going on before the cigarette pops up. So I show that the cloth is all the way around. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch the tip of the cigarette, and I'm actually going to clip the cloth, and I'll show you underneath what's happening. I'm clipping the cloth, and I'm going to tilt the cigarette down and back like that while I extend my index finger up like this. So it starts here in the center. You show the cloth all the way around it. You touch the top of it like that. Then you're going to grab it. You switch it for your finger, and it's sticking out right here. You can't really see it, but that's where it is. So now when I come back like this, it still looks like the cigarette or the pencil is there, but it's actually easily accessible from underneath without going too far under the handkerchief. So that's what I do now. I come up with my left hand, and I grab it, and I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to expose it here, and pivot it underneath my thumb like this. Now I do that in the action of adjusting the handkerchief. So I come up over here, I pivot it into my hand, and I pull the handkerchief down a little bit on every side. Then I'm going to take the pencil or cigarette and put it back into the place that I just took it from, but on the outside of the handkerchief. Now you want to make sure that there's plenty of material on the side toward you so that it's not that far from where your finger is now. Because the next move that you're going to do is to kick, it's between my middle finger and my thumb. I'm going to kick it with my ring finger and grab it like that. So it's actually pretty simple to do without the handkerchief in place. All I'm doing is this. Here, I'm kicking it with my ring finger and bringing it up to my index finger. Nothing to it. So the look of it is as though the object is still there, but it's on the back side. And then you go like this, and it pops up. So one action up and down, not a big shaking action here, just one action straight up and straight down, and it appears to pop right through the handkerchief, and you can show that there's fabric all the way around it, and then pull it out, and there's no hole. That's the first step. The second step is the immovable cigarette. Now, the immovable cigarette is actually more of a stunt than it is a magic trick. I've never even seen it performed as a magic trick, and very few people even know it or use it as a stunt. It's so angle sensitive and one of those weird ones that I have to expose it to the person that's on stage with me. And so I do it as though I'm sharing some secret information. It's not a big secret at all. First of all, when you have them put their hand under there and hold the cigarette, there is no way to remove the handkerchief without dropping it. So, you have them try and they fail. I think it's, again, important to establish that there are conditions. But when I put the handkerchief over my hand, this is what I'm doing. I'm putting 3 fingers into the handkerchief, and I'm leaving my little finger and my thumb on the outside behind those 3 fingers like this. This is what it looks like from the front, but even slightly from the side, you can start to see that my hand isn't completely underneath there. So it's not terribly deceptive except from that angle. It also isn't that clear what's going on when you do this, so you have to establish it with somebody. But all I'm doing is gripping the pencil or cigarette between my little finger and my thumb like that. So now, when the spectator, or I could do it, but when the spectator pulls the handkerchief, it's going to pull off of those fingers, and then you're going to act as though you were just holding it with those fingers. So apparently it looks like the handkerchief melts through it and it stays in place. Not necessarily the most remarkable or convincing illusion, but it is a fun way to involve some unusual props, perhaps to set up something else that you're going to go into later. Like I did with these 2 effects, you can go watch this in sequence now. You see these 2 cigarette effects set up the last 2 handkerchief effects that you actually saw earlier that allow me to keep the cigarette from the spectator and then walk off stage. Again, some of these are really nice as quick MC bits, and then you bring on the next act. So have fun with them. I did bring something valuable with me to the show tonight, which I'd like to share with somebody up here on stage, but it has to be somebody that I completely trust with something that has enormous value. So let me see if I can find somebody that I completely... You look trustworthy. Hi, what's your name?
Natalie.
Natalie. Let's give Natalie a big round of applause as she comes up here. How are you? Hi, Natalie. Here, you can stand right on this side. Yeah, fantastic. Natalie, here, put these gloves on. Yeah, I'll give you a moment while I show everybody the thing that I have of value. Now, I'm not showing this because I'm trying to show off. No, I'm showing you this because I want to test my security measures. You see, what I have in this box is so valuable, I have to make sure that it's protected from anybody who may want to take it from me. Now, the reason that you have the gloves on is because this particular item should not be actually handled. You have to wear the gloves to handle it. It's a piece of art, as a matter of fact. Now, Natalie, I want you to take a look at what you can see and tell me, what do you think is inside the box?
Green tissue paper.
But can you hear something else?
2 dice.
2 dice. Valuable dice. There are clues on the stage. There's even a clue in the green paper, which is actually a silk handkerchief. Now, the security measures, there are many of them. Security measure number 1 is that there is no lock on the box. No, that's important. If there were a lock on the box, everybody would know that there was something valuable in it, and they would immediately take the box and break it open and find the thing. So don't put a lock on the box. Believe me, every time I've ever, I shouldn't really talk about every time I've ever, but you look for the lock. That's the secret. The second thing is that handkerchief. That keeps whatever's hidden in there. And then nobody knows that it is, whatever it happens to be. Would you like to see it?
Sure.
Of course you would. Who wouldn't? I've made such a big deal out of it.
You have?
Yeah, we have to look at it, don't we? And I've given you the gloves, so you get to handle it. Look, hidden inside that handkerchief is a baseball. Cup your hands. Cup. Yeah, good. I'm trusting you.
Should you?
Yeah. I'm going to give you the baseball, but you have to make sure that you catch it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. There. I want you to take a good, close look at it. And tell everybody what you see on that baseball.
There is a signature that says Babe Ruth on it.
Oh, yeah. Now, some of you may not be into baseball. I'm not into baseball myself. I couldn't care less about the game. But I know things of value when I see them. Now, I'm going to ask you, Natalie, to examine that carefully so that you remember exactly how it looks. Check everything about it. The signature, all of the wear and the tear, every little detail. As a matter of fact, I want you to remember one tiny detail that maybe you think nobody else would notice. The way that the T crosses over the H with a little pull back at the end. Perhaps that one broken thread on there, or perhaps the spot that's bruised from where the Babe himself hit that first home run in the first All-Star game in 1933. You see, sitting in right field was a man named Earl Brown. Earl Brown was there on a date with May, who eventually became his wife. Earl Brown caught the first home run in the first All-Star game in Kaminsky Park in 1933. He kept this ball for many, many years, passing it down through generation to generation. And then the family fell on some hard times. And his family was forced to sell the ball to pay for some medical bills. But you know, at the time, the youngest of the family said, "We're only selling a ball that's been hidden away in a closet in a box. We're not selling the memory." So they still have that, but we have this. Oh, I really shouldn't be touching it with my hand. It's okay. I'll cover it up. And then you get to hold it. Don't lose it, whatever you do. Now, what I'd like you to do is to show everybody that little detail that you're remembering. Show it to everyone. Show the tiny detail on the ball that you're remembering. The little part of the...
What
the what?
ball?
Natalie, I'm sorry to have to say this to you, but we're going to have to resort to the final security measure.
A lock?
This is not a souvenir bat. This is for interrogation. For the last person that saw the ball. No, you. Because you were the last one to touch it. I'm just joking with you. You know I'm joking with you, right?
No.
No? You're worried?
You're cleaning it off right now.
Just to make sure that there are no fingerprints on it. I'll get the handle later. Now, actually, the security measure is this handkerchief. This handkerchief, even though it appears completely normal, has been imbued with a magical power. It's true. And you have nothing to worry about. I knew the ball was going to disappear. I planned it. I wanted to show everybody the remarkable lengths that I've gone to make sure that the ball returns to its proper place in this box. Check this out. Keep checking it out. I know you want to touch it. But look, the handkerchief has found its way back inside the box. But the important part is, can you hear that? You hear it?
You hear what?
The ball. Did you hear it? It's right inside, wrapped inside the handkerchief. Go ahead and take it out. And see if you can find that very special mark that you recognized from before.
There's a cross of a T.
And then, Natalie, do me a favor. Just place the ball gently back inside the box. Give me your hands. Give me your hands. There you go. Big round of applause for her. Thank you so much for helping. Well, this is my presentation for what is basically, at its core, a very simple effect where a silk vanishes and then reappears inside this box. Now, if you're not familiar with what this box is, this is what the whole routine is built around. It's called a crystal casket. It's a very simple device. You can buy one of these in a lot of different magic shops. And the main problem with the ones that you buy in the magic shops is that they are decorated with a prismatic foil all the way around the edges. They really look like a magic prop. So I made my own, but I highly recommend to you that you buy one off of the shelf and then customize it. All you have to do is cover that prismatic foil with some black. You can either paint it, you could put some black tape on it, just so that you dull down the edges so it doesn't look like a fancy magic prop. You want the box to be the least suspicious thing in the whole routine, even though this is causing the silk to appear. And the way it does it is that there is a mirror inside, and you can kind of see it right there. That is the flap. So that mirror goes up to this back side, and then there is a catch that keeps it in place. And then that's got a little movement on the catch back here. Now, the way that I make mine is I put it so it's like a little handle, you know. You could push it, you could pull it, you could turn it any direction you want to, and it will release the catch on the inside. I offset that handle by 90 degrees. So here is the catch running vertically, and you can see that the handle out here is horizontal. So that means that once the catch is in place, then the handle will be horizontal, and if you push that up or pull that down or turn it at just 90 degrees, it releases the mirror. The mirror then falls down into what the bottom of the box is. So the only purpose for that box is to produce a handkerchief. So you're going to need two handkerchiefs that look the same, and they don't have to be decorated the way that I've decorated these, but because of the theme of this effect, I've put a baseball decoration on them, which is actually a very simple thing to do. So if you like the theme of this effect and you want to give it a try, you can do the same thing. Of course, you can decorate your handkerchief with anything you want to. The way that I do that is very simple. I use a stencil. So you just take a piece of poster board, you draw on whatever the design is that you want to be, you take an X-Acto knife and you very carefully cut this out. It's going to take a little while. If you're really good with knife work, something like this only takes about a half an hour. If you're not so good, take an hour, hour and a half. Then you're going to lightly spray glue it, very lightly. You just want it to be a little tacky to the touch. Then you can take it, lay it down like this. You can spread out a silk on it. You flip it over with the silk lightly attached by glue, and then you just take some white paint or whatever color you want to use, and you stipple it. So you don't spread it with a paintbrush. You just take a sponge, pick up the paint, and then stipple it through the openings all the way around, and then let it dry, and then you can peel that all the way off, and you get a handkerchief like that. And you can make as many as you want to. So it gives the handkerchiefs a little bit more personality and makes them more recognizable. They become individual items. Now, this trick can be done by simply starting with a handkerchief in the box, taking it out of the box, vanishing the handkerchief, and then it goes back into the box. And that's the way that Tarbell did it. And he used a vanish of the handkerchief, which isn't terribly convincing, with putting it into a glass and then covering it with a tube. And when you uncover it, the handkerchief's gone. So I wanted a different vanish for the handkerchief, plus I wanted to make it seem like anything could come back in the box, and I wanted to justify the box. This box, to me, looks like a box made specifically for souvenir baseballs. If you've ever been into a sports memorabilia store, or if you go into a craft store, they'll sometimes sell them specifically. They typically have a wooden stand and then a box that goes on top of that stand, but it's the same basic size and shape as this. Now, if you are into do-it-yourself and you want to try to make one of these on your own, what I have here is a photo cube, also from the craft store. Typically, it comes with another cardboard insert. You put photographs on each side. So I threw that away, then decorated the whole thing up and put that mirror in there. This project takes a long time, which is why I recommend that you buy one and customize it. So I want to make it look like the baseball can be in there and appear in there, but it can't. There's no way that this baseball can be behind that mirror. So I'm going to tell you one of my false starts, because sometimes when I have these ideas, I try to take them as far as possible, and maybe somebody can take this a little further than I did. So I thought that I could make a sponge baseball that would collapse behind that mirror with the handkerchief. So this is the decoy baseball, which looks pretty good inside the box, doesn't look good outside the box, but it would pass for the baseball for a second. So I thought I could have that preloaded behind there, but the problem is you have to start with a regular sponge ball like this. You have to hollow out the inside, because this is, even though it's compressible, it's not quite compressible enough. And then you have to glue it back together and paint the outside. And once the outside is painted, when this thing is compressed behind that mirror and stays there for a while, it comes out kind of flat. It doesn't come out all the way. The longer it's behind the mirror, the flatter it is, and it looks really bad. So what you would have to do, if you wanted to try this method, is to create a latex baseball. So you'd have to cast a baseball, and then you'd have to make a latex one, and then you'd have to have a light foam filling in. It'd be such a lot of work that it's probably not worth it. Instead, I'm simply palming the ball back into the box. Now, that's a lot of work, but you'll see all of that in place in a second. The other thing you're going to need, a pair of gloves for the spectator to wear while they're looking at the props. I think these are great because it makes people actually care about what they're inspecting. So I'm not asking somebody to inspect everything to make sure it's normal. Instead, I'm giving them inspection gloves and telling them just to handle things carefully. And this baseball, you're going to need this too, so you're going to have to go find or purchase a Babe Ruth signed autographed baseball, or, like I did, because you notice that I'm holding it now with my bare hands, which is something you would never do, is I made my own. Yeah, this is a stage prop that is made to look like an old baseball. If you get a good close-up look there, that is a pretty realistic signature. It is not good enough to pass inspection from any expert, and certainly the baseball is not really old enough. These lacings are incorrect, and they would know that immediately. Plus, if you look at it really close, you can see that this is just paint. So this isn't real age on here. All I did was I took a baseball off of the shelf, I purchased it, I sanded off all of the designations, who made the baseball, then I just painted it. Now the way that you paint something to age it is that you take a lot of water and you put it into the paint. Now obviously I'm using lots of browns and yellows and various mixtures, so you're going to mix that down, then you're going to water it, then you're going to spread it all over it, and with your bare hands, you're going to roll it between your hands, so you will get paint all over yourself. Now this is latex paint, so it will wash right off of your hands with water, so don't worry about it. Definitely use latex craft paints. So you do that, you roll it all over like this. You can then just take a ballpoint pen and you can sign that signature, and believe me, it doesn't have to be good enough to pass expert inspection. Somebody up here has no idea. They've never seen a souvenir baseball before. I know, because there are very few that look like this. They're holding white gloves. You're telling them a story. You're telling them to remember something specific. You're not telling them to authenticate it, because there's no way they would. But for the rest of the audience, they believe that this is an old baseball. Now, after you've signed that on there, now you're going to take some of your latex paint and you're going to mix up a dirty gray color and water that down and then paint over the whole thing. See this dirt on here? It's not. This is just gray paint. Same thing. You go all over it and then you roll it around. And then the last step is to make sure that that dirt paint goes into every seam and every crevice. So you go through all of those and then roll it around in your hands again. It's a lot of fun, and that will make you an aged baseball. In addition to that, you're also going to need to make a baseball bat. So this is a plastic bat. There, you can hear the hollowness now. This is a plastic baseball bat that's made to look like it's wood, although I never actually say that it is. But this has a special gimmick in it for vanishing the handkerchief. So basically, I've just taken a off-the-shelf baseball bat that is the right size and shape, but made out of plastic. And it already has right on there an oval that would have, the mark on it, the maker's mark there. So it's a nice, guide for you to be able to cut that opening perfectly. So all I did was I cut that out with an X-Acto knife. Now I put a little line of plastic on here. This is a plastic drinking straw. It's a pretty good solid one from what's known as a sippy cup. So if you go find a sippy cup of the right color, you can put it on there like that and you won't have to add any paint. You cut that straw off, you put a slit in it. I'm making motions like I put a slit in it with a knife. I did not. I took a Dremel tool, a rotary tool, and I cut that slit in it. So zzz, like that, and then bent it around and it's glued in place. That makes sure that that edge is nice and smooth. And that's mostly for setting it as opposed to when the handkerchief vanishes. The setting is done like this. In the bottom here, at the handle end, there is a reel that's embedded. So it is a light-duty badge reel that's embedded in there. And then to that is tied this fishing line. So this fishing line goes over a screw down here at the bottom, but I'm going to release it so that you can just see how it gets pulled in to the top like that. So that goes around that edge. It makes it move in smoothly. So that pulls out here and it's under tension, and then there's a loop at the end of it, and there's a screw set right here on the back, and that loop goes around it. But if you follow the fishing line up, you'll see that there are other loops that are tied into it. So if you follow it up here, here's another loop right at the kind of the top of the handle. And that's big enough for my thumb or one of my fingers to go into it. And then if we go all the way up near the opening, there is a large loop right here, and that is for the handkerchief. So when you make this fishing line string under tension because of the reel, you have those three loops, one for the handkerchief, one for your thumb or finger, and one down here to keep it in place. So that is sitting on the table with the string to the back. So the first thing you're going to have to do is set the box. So you have to take the handkerchief that's going to appear and grab it from the center and then bunch it up into a small bundle like this. This will help for setting it. Then you tip the box back so that the mirror falls against your thumb. You insert the handkerchief underneath the mirror and you compress it. Now, as you do that, you want to watch the edges to make sure that the handkerchief doesn't stick out on any of those exposed edges there. Then you twist the latch in place, and now that is caught behind the mirror. The audience will never see it sitting like this with the handkerchief in it, but they will actually see it like that for a second. So we're going to handle it in a different way, but you'll see in a moment what I mean. Now the other one, you wrap the handkerchief around the baseball, you drop it in place, and then bundle up the rest of it on top and close the lid. Now here is the brilliant piece of Tarbell's thinking. And maybe he didn't realize how brilliant this is because I've never seen anybody else ever use it like this. He was smart enough to start with the handkerchief in the box, because with that handkerchief in the box, you can now show every side, including the side where the gimmicked handkerchief is bunched up. So it really looks like you see through every side, but this is the bundled up handkerchief ready to appear. That's wedged in place, but it looks like you're seeing through to whatever the other handkerchief is to begin with. I think that's absolutely brilliant. If you learn nothing else from it, if you just use a handkerchief and not a baseball, this is a good bit to know. Now, once you've shown that, here's how everything is handled. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place the box with the gimmick side against my right hand and hold it like a table. So now I have the gimmick side down. So I have the latch right here in front of my index finger, and there are the hinges there. So if I open the box like this and then tilt it slightly back toward myself and carefully pull the handkerchief out, I can show what's in the handkerchief without it dropping out. So there it is, and you can see the baseball inside. That's the picture you want people to remember, because you want them to think that when the ball comes back, it's the same way. Now you're going to tip that out into the spectators' hands. So they have the baseball now. Then you take the handkerchief away from the box and just leave it sitting here. Now take a look at that. That looks completely empty. The handkerchief is hidden underneath the mirror, which is now on the bottom, laying on my hand. But I'm not paying attention to it as I talk. I show this handkerchief, they're looking at that, I'm telling the story, but the whole time I'm doing this, the audience gets to see an empty box that seems completely unprepared, that seems like it was just there to hold the baseball and the handkerchief. So after you get to this point, you're now going to transfer it to your other hand and continue to talk, and then close the lid like this, and then put your right hand in the front. Don't make too much of a big deal out of this. You're going to close the box, and your right hand is going to come in front as you turn your left hand with the mirror up like that. Again, don't make a big move out of it, but you don't want to turn the box like this because it's a little obvious if somebody's paying attention to it. So instead, you just want to cover it with your right hand and then set it down and then walk away from it. Now, it's not going to be set in front of the bat. Notice how the bat can't be seen? That's the reason that I pull the other table in place between myself and the spectator, so that when I get to this point and I set it down like this, I can just start talking to them. And that's sitting there looking like it's completely empty when actually the mirror is in the back here. So you see how my hand doesn't show through? That mirror is hiding the handkerchief that's back here. So that's ready to produce a handkerchief. Now I'm at this point. Now I need to vanish the baseball, and that's why I undo my jacket, and I'm actually going to wear the other jacket that I did in the performance. So let me step off stage for just a second and grab it. Yeah, this is the one that I wore in the performance, and the reason that I have to wear this one is because this contains a secret device. This device is actually pretty easy to make. It's called a Toppet, and if you look at this one, if you know anything about a Toppet, this is one that I made myself. It took about half an hour to 45 minutes to cut this out of fabric. Now, I've done this before, so don't expect that you're going to make one in 45 minutes. But I did this without any sewing. This is all hot glue to glue this piece together. It's then pinned into the jacket, and I tape over the pins just to make sure that they don't get in the way of anything. Now, a Toppet is actually pretty easy as far as the idea of it, but it's beyond the scope of this lesson to tell you everything that you need to know about a Toppet. I highly recommend Michael Amar's work on it. So if you're interested in the Toppet, look that up. But I will tell you the basics. So the basics is that you have a large piece of cloth in the back here, and you can see the shape of it. It's pretty simple. And then you have a matching piece of cloth in the front that matches the back one exactly, except that it's been cut down and a tab has been left on it. This tab is going to tuck into my pants, and you'll see why. And then there's a little extra cloth in the front that sort of funnels it down. Now, typically, a Toppet would be sealed at the bottom here, or there would be a cut where it goes into your side pocket. So if you vanish something, you can get it back out of your side pocket. But because I'm only using this for the baseball, this one has an opening at the bottom, and then there's elastic around that opening. So that when the ball drops into there, it's caught by the elastic, and it stays in place. But just by putting my fingers up inside and my thumb here, I can roll it out and squeeze it back out into my hand. So this trick has been designed so that I don't have to use a duplicate baseball, because if you ever have a chance to perform with a real souvenir baseball, you can still do exactly the same mechanics of this trick. And it will be the same baseball that comes back. Now, if you do perform with a real souvenir baseball, you would also want to wear white gloves while you're performing. But you're only going to be touching the baseball for one moment when you toss it into this bag. So here's how the Toppet is hooked up. It goes into my waist like this, so that when the jacket swings open, the bag opens up. So it only has to swing open a little bit like that. That's the position right there. Now, I will tell you that I am no good with working a Toppet. As a matter of fact, this is the first and only, so far, time that I have used a Toppet in performance. I've made them for a lot of people. I've played around with them on my own. I've never liked the way it looks on me. But it's the perfect method for this particular routine. So all you have to do is this. I'll do it without the handkerchief first, just to show you. When I perform this, of course, my sleeves will be up. You want to make sure that people know that you're not doing anything with those. You're going to have the handkerchief on this hand. And all you're going to do is lean forward like this and turn the handkerchief over as you let the ball roll off of your fingers and into the bag. So you're not really throwing it in there, you're letting it roll. I'm going to open this a little bit more for you just so you can see that it rolls and drops right into the bag like that. And then right here under the edge of my jacket, I'm able to retrieve it. So here's the handkerchief. I put this hand here, I let it roll off, and then it should be wrapped up. Now, that is, in theory, how you're supposed to do it. But in the heat of the moment in performance, it will probably look a lot more like the way I did it, which is to throw the thing in there and then quickly wrap it up. So you show the ball like this, you come over with the handkerchief, it rolls into their Toppet, and then you hand it to the spectator immediately. So it's already gone. Now that should come as a surprise. That's why I like this method, because you don't have to hook the ball up to anything else. You don't apparently put it into any device. Everything seems to be out in the open, and yet it is ready for you to retrieve it when you need it. So now it's gone. So now I bring out the bat. And of course, this gimmick has been sitting there the whole time, that box, but nobody's suspicious of it. I bring out the bat, and I start to rub it like that. Now, of course, you don't want to show this side, so you're cleaning off the bat. And as I'm doing that, with my right hand, I'm going to put my thumb into the loop back here. So right into the fishing line. There it is. As I'm cleaning this off. And I'm going to pull the string. Now I want to turn this so you can see the back. I'm going to pull the string and disengage it with my finger. So now the only thing that's keeping the tension on that is my thumb in that opening. And now I'm going to go down here to this opening. As I'm talking to the spectator, I'll put the tip of the handkerchief through the loop and grab it on the other side, and then move the bat down to the center. It's the quickest and easiest way to thread that handkerchief through the loop. So instead of me pulling it up, I pull the bat down like this. It's now in the center, and I lay the handkerchief over like that. But I still have to get this started, so I'm going to tuck this into the hole and release the tension So it's already starting to go into the hole before the audience is aware that there's anything happening with it. So that's the position that it's in. Now, this particular reel is, like I said, it's a light-duty reel. Not a lot of tension on it, and so it doesn't vanish this handkerchief as quickly as I want it to. If you're going to make one of these on your own, I suggest getting a much stronger reel than the one that I used here. That way it'll vanish instantly, and you won't have to do the waving action that I have to do. But it still works with the waving action. So I'm going to do that as I produce the one in the box here. To produce the one in the box, I'm going to pick this up with my index finger and middle finger on one side, my thumb on the other side, and my ring finger is going to be on the catch. So you can see from the back here that just by pulling up on that little handle here, I'll release that. But I have a good grip on the top of the box before I put my ring finger in place and I get ready to pull it. I'm also going to tip the box slightly forward. That causes the mirror to drop down instantly. So I tap the bottom of the box with the baseball bat. I start waving it and I release my thumb. And that causes the handkerchief to go inside the bat, and I pull the latch, and it appears inside the box. Now, you'll still have to shake that out to fluff it up, to make it seem like it's big enough to contain the baseball. At this point, you don't have the baseball. So you put the bat down, being careful, of course, not to expose the gimmick behind it, and then you shake this as though you can hear that there's something else in there. You open the lid, and now I'm going to shake it toward the spectator. I'm going to give you the backstage view here. I'm going to shake it toward the spectator as my hand reaches down, pulls this baseball out, and gets it into a very kind of a loose palm back here. The position I want to get into is this, like a gun, but I'm going to keep my fingers curled like a mitt, and then I'm going to extend those fingers in a second. So this is all done here, so that the focus is there. Then my right hand comes down, my left hand comes up, the mitt comes in, and those fingers extend like that. So that's the position. So these fingers extend and go down as far as they can as the baseball is loaded behind. So you go, boom, baseball goes into the box, the fingers come down, and you immediately begin to pull the handkerchief out as though you're letting the handkerchief unwrap from around the baseball. Show that it's in there, and then dump it out into the spectator's hands. That is all of the work on how you take a very simple device with no justification, figure out what it means, and then build the rest of the act around it. Yeah, good. I need to borrow a pack of cigarettes from someone. A pack of cigarettes. Somebody in the back. What's your name?
John.
John. We've never met before. You look like you've. Have you been here before?
We met last Halloween once.
Last Halloween, so a long, long time ago. Give John a big round of applause as he comes up here. Bring your pack of cigarettes. All right, so John, I need just a single cigarette from you. Actually, I'll tell you what. It seems wrong of me to take a cigarette from you without giving you something. Now, have you ever been walking around town, you're smoking, somebody comes up to you and says, "Can I bum a cigarette from you?"
Sure.
And you give it to them,
Right.
but you feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Well, how many times has it happened? First time it happens, you're okay, right?
Yeah.
Second time, yeah, kind of okay.
Right.
Third time, you're like, what?
Yeah.
They're my cigarettes,
Right.
right? So it seems only fair that I do something for you for a cigarette, something of value.
Sure.
All right, so put those away, and I won't take a cigarette from you. Instead, I'm going to show you a card trick, and if the card trick is good, then I get a cigarette. Okay, this is how I cut down on smoking. It's hard to impress people. Hold on to those for just for a second. Okay, so John, all I want you to do is to just point to the back of any card, any one at all. It doesn't matter which one it is. Just point to it. Which one? Is it this one?
Yeah.
Yep, that one right there. All right, hold those for me so that everybody can see the card that you've pointed to. I'm also going to take a look at it. All right, 8 of clubs, fantastic. We won't use the rest of these. Instead, we'll just use your 8 of clubs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear the corner out of it like this. Now, I'm telling you what I'm going to do while I do it, which is kind of ridiculous, but you hold the corner because that's going to indicate your card. Okay? We don't need the box either. What we do need is a lighter. And I have, well, it must be in the other pocket. And yeah, I've got a lighter here. There it is. Perfect. We need a lighter. Examine the lighter. Stupid. Is it a lighter?
Looks like a lighter, feels like a lighter.
Okay. Now you could have chosen any card, yes?
Yeah.
But you've chosen the...
8 of clubs.
That's right. It's the same one that's here. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to place it into my hand like this. May I have the lighter? Check this out. What brand do you smoke?
Marlboro Reds.
Look familiar?
Yeah.
Got my cigarette. John, you're probably wondering about the card trick, though,
Sure.
aren't you?
Yeah.
Because I said I was going to do an amazing card trick for the cigarette,
Right.
right? Take out your pack of cigarettes. Look inside. You can put the pack of cigarettes away. Unroll what you've found. Oh, yeah. That'd be your 8 of clubs. Check that corner. Make sure it's the same one.
Yep, it fits.
Show them. Let's give John a big round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you guys for being here. Well, I got to tell you, I actually love this trick. But if you're a non-smoker, you'll probably hate this trick. It's not the trick for you because it really does require you, at least in my presentation, to want to borrow a cigarette from somebody for some reason. In the original presentation, though, you had your own cigarettes with you, and their card would appear in your cigarette case that they were holding. So I really didn't even like that, but you'd still have to be a smoker to be carrying around cigarettes. And it was done with a cigarette case, and in fact, a very special cigarette case that was like a leather wallet. In addition to that, in the original presentation of this, there was a special gimmick that was made, a special pull to exchange one item for another. Now, I've gotten rid of that. I'm doing all of the exchange with sleight of hand. So this is a kind of a narrow trick for very specific people, but if it fits you, I think it's absolutely fantastic. There's a lot to keep track of for what appears to be a simple trick, but you get a really nice solid effect at the end when their own card appears in their own cigarettes. So let's start from the very beginning, which is your preparation. You're going to need a deck of cards with the case and a duplicate of one of the cards. In this case, we'll be using the 10 of clubs. One of them, you're going to tear the corner out of it, the index corner. And whenever I tear a corner out for purposes of matching it, I like to put a little kind of a bump in it so it's quicker to match, so you can kind of see that. That way they know exactly which one it is right away. The card we'll get back to, but the corner, you have to be able to control it. And this is actually, when you're doing a corner substitution, this is the challenge. How do you keep track of that corner? Well, we're going to be using the card case itself. So I'm going to take a piece of painter's tape, and on the part of the card case that I'll keep facing toward me, all I'm going to do is run it across the bottom like this so that just a tiny bit of that corner is underneath that piece of tape. So that is right there. Now, the other nice thing about doing it that way, at least for me, if you do a lot of card tricks, you sometimes forget what card to force. So that tells you you have to force the 10 of clubs. So if you happen to forget, there it is. In addition to that, what I always like to do when I have a card to force is I put it on the bottom of the deck, and then I put the deck into the case with that bottom card facing toward me. So now you're in a situation when you bring out that card box and you open it toward yourself, you can see the card you have to force and that the card you have to force is in position. That is the preparation of the cards. The cards are going to be going into your right jacket pocket. This is one of the other requirements of this trick, is that you have a lot of pocket management that's going to be going on here. The lighter that you need is going to have to go into a left-hand pocket. Can be your jacket, can be your pants pocket, pretty much anywhere at all. I'm going to put it down here into my pants pocket, so now I'm in position. This card is going to be rolled up very, very small. Very, very small. So you're going to have to do this a few times to get used to it, but basically you start at the straight, narrow edge. You have to go narrow. You can't go long with this because cigarettes aren't that long. I'm actually going to demonstrate this with the shortest pack of cigarettes I could find. These are 72s. That means 72 millimeters. Hundreds are a little bit longer, so those might actually work, but most cigarettes are a little too short. So you have to go from the narrow end. And the first thing you do, and I'm going to do this on the solid part of the table because it's the only way to do it, is start that short edge with a very sharp, tiny, tiny fold. So that is how you begin. That tiny fold helps with everything because now you can fold it over, and using that tiny edge, I'm going to bring it to the edge of the table to make it easier for me. You fold it over a couple of times, and you continue folding it until it starts to roll. So that is how you make a very tightly rolled card. Okay, so that will typically maintain its position. When you let go of it, it'll start to unroll a little bit like this, and you may get that kind of diamond shape to it, but it doesn't go too far and completely unroll. So that's going to be placed in with the card box in your right jacket pocket. Now you've got everything you need to manage. You're going to need to borrow some cigarettes from somebody, and it's best to borrow a box of cigarettes so that you have that flip top that helps to conceal some of what you're going to be doing. But you can do this with a soft pack, although you're going to have to practice it with a soft pack because you'll have a much smaller opening where it's torn to insert the card. That's what you're going to have to be doing in a moment. Now this is a new pack of cigarettes. So I wanted to explain that if you get a new or almost new pack of cigarettes, there is no space for you to insert that card. If even only a couple of cigarettes were missing from this, then it's still difficult to get a card in there. But you really don't want a new pack at all. Now, if somebody hands you a new pack, have them open it up and then take a cigarette out to offer it to somebody, and in the action of apparently putting it back, you'll be able to hit that one spot and get the card into place. Let me show you the situation with the pack just like this, as though I'm going to be borrowing it from somebody. So the first thing I do is I reach into my pocket and I find that rolled up card and I get it into a finger palm like this, from my middle finger to my palm in that position. And I bring out the deck of cards so that my hand looks as natural as possible with an object already being held into it as I'm talking to the spectator and saying I need to borrow a pack of cigarettes. As they bring it up, I put the case back into my pocket, keeping the card in place, and I extend my hand like this and I open my thumb. So it looks like all I'm doing is reaching out for the pack of cigarettes. So if you see there, I'm just reaching out like this, but from their perspective, they see this. You can't see it from the front. So I'm reaching for the pack of cigarettes. They bring the pack of cigarettes up and I put it into my hand like that. Using my left hand, I'm going to open it. I'm going to look in, and here's what happens from the back. Now, like I said, if it's too full, you take a cigarette out, and in the action of starting to put that back in, you'll put the card in place. But what you ideally want to do is this. You want to bring your right hand over. My thumb's going to release the card like so and slide it into a slot. And while I'm doing this, I'm looking at the spectator. So it slides it into the slot there, pushes it home, takes a cigarette out, and pivots it back into exactly that same palm. And all of that's done while my hand is here very quickly. And then I say, but before I borrow a cigarette from you, I'm going to show you a card trick. So you're using sleight of hand to very quickly switch. While you're looking at the spectator, you stick the card in, you get the cigarette back out, and then you say, you know what? It doesn't seem fair. Here, put those away. So now, with just touching the pack once, I've got one of their cigarettes, and they have the card for the ending. So it is a challenge. This is a sleight of hand challenge, but if you get that one moment done, you're set up for a really amazing kicker at the end. Now what's great about this is that your hand's dirty, but only for a moment. As you're handing the pack of cigarettes back to them, The cigarette that you've taken secretly goes into your right-hand pocket as you bring the deck of cards out, and that cigarette's just going to lay in there for a little bit while you're doing the card trick portion of this. So you open up the deck, you take it out, you double-check you're in the right position, and you slide the corner off of the tape and hand the box to the spectator. And as they take it, the corner goes into a finger palm position, goes under the deck, and now you force the card using whatever method you like. Obviously, if you've been following along with me, you know my method is to pull this over here. It's my favorite method. They touch any card they want. You separate the deck at that point. You square it, and you show them the card. This also allows that finger palm corner to stay in place. Now, what's nice about this particular version of it is that you can hand the cards over to the spectator and turn this over and look at the card yourself. And all you're doing is, you see that corner that's there? It's just riding along with that card as I look at it. So now it's in my fingers like this. They end up with all of the cards and the box. They can put that away, put the cards into the box, and you can put the box away, which you're going to do in a second, but make sure that they're holding on to it. So that all goes with them. You're here, and all you're going to do is turn that around, get the corner into a position where it's facing the same way as the card, and then behind it, and all of this can be done just in looking at the card. And now you're going to tear the corner out, and this is done visibly, and here's where the corner to be switched in is. So you just tear the corner out, and you can even mimic that if you want to. You get it to this position, and now you just do basically a jinx switch, which is this. It's going to look like I put the corner behind it and take it in the other hand, but all I'm doing is putting this corner behind and taking the corner that was hidden. So that goes over to the spectator. So now they're holding on to the corner that matches the card that's in their cigarette package. So you've gotten away with a whole lot up to this point. It looks like you've done very, very little. If you've done it right, it looks like all you've done, they'll forget that you touched their cigarette pack. Looks like all you've done is have them select a card, and you've torn a corner out of it, and you're pretty much home free, ready to go here. So you're going to start folding this card up and concealing the corner in it at the same time. So you fold the card in half, make sure the corner stays in there, fold it in half again like this, and you get back the box with the cards in it. So for our purposes, I'm just going to take the box back, because as I put the box away, that's when I'm getting that cigarette back into the right position, which is that same palm position that I showed you before, right there. And that same palm position allows me to continue folding the card. Now you have to be careful, because if you press too hard, you will crush that cigarette. So you have to be very gentle here. You may have to transfer it down to your third finger so that you have the pressure from your first two fingers to help fold this card, smaller and smaller. Now the card doesn't have to be folded like a cigarette. You can fold it the other direction, like this, and as you get it folded into a small package, your hands are naturally coming together. So you're going to drop the cigarette into your other hand, and then act like you're dropping the card into that hand, but all you're doing is putting it into a finger palm like this. So now it's finger palm down here. You pinch this hand tightly. There's the end of the cigarette right there. But if you flash it like this, it looks like the corner or a part of the folded card. So as you do that, you're going to look for a lighter. So all you do is reach your hand down into your pocket, and there's nothing there. You pat. Then you're going to transfer the cigarette into the other hand as though it's the folded card, and keeping this hand empty, you reach in, and there's the lighter. You hand the lighter to the spectator. They can examine it. You transfer the cigarette back to the other hand. At this point, the card is gone. It turns into a cigarette. You light the cigarette. Your hands are clean, and everything is in their hands for the finale, which is the corner and the pack of cigarettes. When they open it up, they see that card folded in there right away, and there's no possible way in their mind that it could be the same card, because they just saw you tear the corner out of it just a moment ago. But they unfold it and match the corner in, and they, of course, get to keep all of that as a souvenir, and you get yourself a cigarette in exchange. So like I said, it's not for everybody, but honestly, if you can put the work into this thing, when you get smooth with loading that card into there, this is the kind of thing that will freak out everybody. I've been hearing a lot about this Pokemon Go thing, right? Right? Who's into that? Seriously, there are a few of you. No, it's fine. Before I start the show proper, I just want to say thank you so much for putting your phone away for a second and not trying to catch any of the Pokemon here in our studio, because they're all over the place. They are. They're everywhere. I can see you like Jones, and I got to get that. You know. To be honest with you, though, I don't quite understand it. I don't have phones, so I'm not like one of those people that, you know, blah 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 blah. You know, I got to catch this and catch that and I catch that kind of stuff. That's not me. I actually have a different technique. It's a little bit more physical. For example, there's one of them right there. No, it's right here, right at the end of my finger. Now, you can't see it, but if I go like this, then there it is. Yeah, right there. Anybody recognize that character? It's Pikachu! Exactly right. I think even if you're not into the game, you recognize Pikachu. It's probably the most familiar character of all of them. See, they're everywhere. As a matter of fact, look, once you find Pikachu, you find all of his friends. Okay, so here is a quick thimble production for people who don't do any thimble magic. It's actually so super easy to do. But if you saw my thimble lesson a few lessons back, you know that I'm not a big fan of working with thimbles, and nobody really sees them anymore. Nobody knows what they are. So instead, I like to make them into something else. In this case, I'm making them sort of into finger puppets that are souvenirs from the Pokemon series. Now, of course, these are not official souvenirs from Pokemon. These are just some paper that's the characters have been printed out on them. You would have to do this yourself. Obviously, you cannot purchase these because they're licensed characters, but you can make them yourself. So you just take some cardstock, print out the characters, paste them onto the thimbles of matching colors, both front and back, so it won't really matter which way you're showing it. They don't even have to be that highly detailed. Now, if you want to, you can take all the time to decorate them and make them look like the characters, all that kind of stuff. But the truth of it is that in a few years from now, people are going to look back at this video and they're going to wonder what all the fuss was. They may not even know what these characters are anymore. Now, this will probably last for a while, but currently the game that you play on your cell phone is all the rage, and it's probably going to last for maybe a year or so, and then people will move on to something else. And then a few years down the road, they'll forget all about that. So now is the time to do this, but the concept can be used for all kinds of things. So back when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were all the rage, you could use the 4 colors for that. You could even go back and do it for the Beatles and, you know, produce the Beatles there. You could come up with any 4 things that you could produce and decorate the thimbles to be that. It's so much better than just using thimbles. Now, once you've done that, here are all the moves that you need to know. First, you're going to start off backstage by putting those thimbles onto your right fingers like this. You're going to put all of your fingers together, and using your left thumb, you're going to go deep into your thumb and thumb palm all of them. This is slightly different than the directions in the effect as given. In the effect as given in the book, you already had one of these in thumb palm in your right hand, but now you have 2 dirty hands. You don't want to have 2 dirty hands, so it's better to start off with 1 dirty hand and 1 clean hand. Now, for me, the dirty hand just goes into my pocket. It doesn't go all the way in, but it looks pretty relaxed. So I'm just come out, I'm holding something in this hand, I set it down, I ask a couple of questions, that kind of stuff. Now I'm going to come out and I'm going to make this gesture. And this is a great gesture now because it makes sense for the game. So I ask a question, then when I come together, I'm acting like I'm looking at a phone. So I'm looking at a phone, but what I'm actually doing is putting the first thimble in place and thumb palming it. And then I turn to the center and I drop my hands and I point over there. So the left hand, which is still dirty with the 3 thimbles, goes to this side. The right hand goes like that. So this is the first move. Again, for people who don't do thimbles, this is so easy. All you're going to do, and I'm going to give you the backstage view, All you're going to do is as you pull your hand toward yourself, you put your finger in. As you push your hand away from yourself, you put your finger out. That's it. So it's thumb palm position here. You're going to go back and out. Now from the front, it looks like you see something and you put your finger in it and then you show it. Now you can take your time showing that around, and as you do that, your left hand's going to come up, and these 3 fingers on your right hand are going to extend. And again, I'll give you the backstage view. You're probably way ahead of me here. It's so simple to do. All you're going to do is put your fingers right back into those, grab this one, curl those fingers back into your right hand, pull that off, and show it with your left hand. Now from the front, that looks fantastic. They've seen your right hand. You come up and take the thimble away with your left hand, and now they see your left hand. So you've hidden the thimbles both ways. Now you're just going to put it back onto your finger like this, lay it into your hand like that, and extend these fingers behind your left hand. So boom, boom, and then twist your hand up, and when it's the right moment, you just pull your hand away and show that you now have the characters on each of your fingers. That's a nice surprise. Even if somebody figures out how you produce that first thimble, and most people do, they have no idea where the other ones come from, so you get a good kicker at the end of this, and it's a simple trick. Eric, you may not have noticed, but directly behind you are all of the beverages that we serve here at the theater. Arranged beautifully. Oh, you're looking now. Okay, fantastic. Now you're paying attention. It's good. It's good. I like that. You see? All of them. Okay? Of course, we also have wine, but I didn't want to put those out here. So these are the ones that you can get and carry with you right away in your hand. Sure. Now, Eric, this is the last time that I want you to look at them. I want you to look at those beverages. You'll also notice that I brought along a glass and a couple of bags. I am going to try to influence you to choose one of them. Now, I'm not going to go for your favorite because that's not influence. If I say, pick your favorite, I might already know what you ordered. Okay? That's not fair. So instead, I'm going to influence you to pick something that I want. Got it? Yeah, I love that. Nice, good, good, good. It's not going to happen. All right. Turn this way and don't look. In fact, let's move you. It's all for effect. I just want everybody else to see, but Eric. All right, Eric. Relax, man. Relax. You get to be the star of the show, and your job is actually very, very easy. You're going to look right at her. You're not going to turn your head. You're not going to look at what I'm doing behind your back. You got it? All right. Because I have already decided which beverage I'm going to have you choose. Now, I've already opened that beverage so that you... Can you hear that? I've already opened that beverage so that you can't tell whether it comes from a bottle or a can. You know absolutely nothing. Can you hear it? You can? You know absolutely nothing about this beverage. You got it? Don't turn around, whatever you do. The beverage has been chosen for you. I've got an idea. Here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the beverages inside these bags so that there's no way that he'll know which bag contains which beverage. So even if he happened to hear, or perhaps smell, or sense in some way the predicted beverage, he won't know which bag it's in. So, take the 2 bags, and now to make it completely fair, don't peek in them, just mix them around so I don't know which bag is which. Yeah, just mix them, go ahead and mix them around. Put one in the other hand, and then this one and that one. Don't drop them, whatever you do, but you've got all of the possible beverages that we have here. Now I'm going to ask you to hand me one of those bags. Now this is very important. Whichever bag you hand me, we are not going to use it. I want to make it very clear This is not one of those situations where I decide afterwards what we keep and what we don't keep. You are deciding what we keep and we don't keep. The bag that you hand me, I'm eliminating it, and there's no turning back. So which bag do you want to get rid of? I won't even look. I'm that confident that I've predicted what you're going to keep. Now, Eric, yes? I want you to look in the bag. You're going to take out any two of the beverages that you have in there. Any two of them. Take them out and hand them to me. It's entirely up to you, just like the first choice. It makes no difference to me, although I've already predicted what I know you're going to choose. So, take out any two of them and hand them to me. And you're sure about this? Yeah? You seem rather confident. Good. You have two beverages remaining. Yes? Thank you. Now, one of those, I'm sure, matches my prediction. And the other one does not. Whichever one you want, take it out. That's the one you want. You sure? Yes. You don't want the other one? No. You want to get rid of the other one? Yeah. Things were going so well. Hand the bag to me. I tried. I really tried. I honestly, I tried. And it's not because there wasn't much influence or anything. But here, you can get off of the chair now and take a look at what I've predicted for you. Come on over here and stand with me, because we were so close. You had a Coca-Cola, didn't you? That you could have kept, and you decided to keep a Sprite, which is close, super close. Look. What does it say right there?
The Coca-Cola Company?
It's a product of Coca-Cola! Yeah! It's not good enough for our show. Do you like Sprite? You know what Sprite tastes like?
Yes.
Tastes like Coca-Cola. Without the caramel coloring, without the cocoa flavoring in it, yeah? All I have to do is remove the color and the flavor. Take a taste of that. Is that Sprite? Give him a big round of applause. He goes back to his seats. Keep it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, in this presentation of this particular effect, you may have noticed and realized that I intentionally expose the gimmick. Now, that may not sit well with some of you, and I understand that, but let me just simply tell you why. I think, first of all, that the change of the ink to water as a hidden trick isn't really that good. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And there are better versions for changing a dark liquid into a clear liquid that happen right in front of an audience, that are chemical things. It was called Think Ink for a long time. People have marketed under various things. But basically, just watching it, it changes instantly from a dark liquid to a clear liquid, and can also change back and forth, depending on which method you use. Now, when ink to water was originally invented, people used a lot of ink for their writing purposes. Many people were still using quill pens without the quill, but using ink pen that you dip into ink and write with it. It's certainly not as popular anymore unless you're into calligraphy. So most people wouldn't be familiar with a vat of ink like that, a container. So it'd be hard to explain what it is. Now, the way that it used to be proven that it was ink was to dip a piece of paper into it and pull it out, and it would be covered with black. That paper would just be switched from one side to another. One side would have a black part of it, and the other side would not. So you would just turn it around and pull it out, and it would look like it was ink. There were lots of different methods for changing it, The thing that Ed Reno did, though, was that he put the color on the outside of the glass as opposed to the inside of the glass. Most of the methods used a piece of black cloth on the inside of the glass and then water into it, so that when you put a handkerchief over it, you had to reach down inside and pull out this soggy mess under the cover of the handkerchief to reveal the ink. But what he realized is that if you put a wet piece of cloth on the outside of a straight-sided glass, it looked exactly like something inside the glass, just because of the way that black liquid affects the glass. It actually looks like it expands outside of it. Now what I've done is I've replaced that piece of cloth, which had to be wet still to cling to the glass, with this stuff. And we're going to have to pause there, because I did forget one thing, to show them what this stuff is. Okay. So what I've done is I've replaced that piece of black cloth, which had to be wet to cling to the outside of the glass, with this stuff. Now this stuff isn't normally black like this. It is clear, and it's called reusable amazing tape. Basically, it is a thin plastic tape with no adhesive on it. So there is no adhesive on this stuff at all, but it has this great property of being able to cling to itself, which is really kind of cool. The other thing is it clings to any smooth surface like glass. So this works really well for this. But what you have to do is take this stuff, or anything that's similar. You can find cling film lots of different places, but you certainly don't want to use a light-duty one like a Saran wrap. This stuff is pretty heavy-duty. So it's a cling film. And you're going to wrap it around your glass, and then you're going to cut it so that it'll be square with the glass. Because even though a glass has straight sides, it actually flares a little bit. It's almost impossible to find one that's perfectly straight. And that means that there will be a very slight curve once you've cut it. So you can see that it's got a really slight curve on the top and the bottom edges. And when you find the right length and you cut it with an X-Acto knife around the glass to form that curve, the other thing that you'll do is take it off, and on one and only one side, using a wide-tipped Sharpie marker, like a king-size Sharpie marker, you'll color it black, but only on one side, because whatever side you color black removes the clinginess from it. So the coloring makes it so that it doesn't cling anymore. The other side that hasn't been textured at all will cling to the glass. Then you want to do one last thing, and that is at the very end of it, you take a piece of electrical tape and you fold it over so that it makes a little tab, and I cut little corners off of it so that it'll be just easier to grab onto. So now, using the clingy side, you place this onto your glass, and I have to lay it down to do it just right here, and wrap it around where the liquid will be. And then press it so that the tab is the only part that can be peeled off. Now, if it doesn't cling really well, you can lightly moisten just the very end of it, and that will make it cling extremely well. That tiny, tiny bit of moisture just goes in there and seals anything in. So now, even without adding liquid to it, if I turn that tab around, without even adding liquid to it, that looks like that glass has some dark liquid in it. So we're going to use that to represent Coca-Cola. Now, the place that it has been put on here is above the completely clear part at the bottom, you see? So it's right where the liquid would be, and then you're going to stop at a certain level, whatever level you decide. Now, in this case, all I'm going to do is pour some water into it. In my presentation, it ends up being Sprite, but I don't want to waste another can of Sprite for this, so I'm just going to pour a little bit of water into there and right up to the very level. So now when you look across it, you know, because I told you, that that is a clear liquid in that glass. But if you look at that and think to yourself that you've seen the dark liquid being poured in place, and especially if that's Sprite, those bubbles will appear up on the top of it, it's a perfect illusion as though it's filled with Coca-Cola, once you know that. Now when you pick it up, that movement, that slight bit of movement at the top, is the extra convincer. So don't try to hide that. When you pick this up, don't do it like this, very carefully, okay? Just pick it up like a regular glass, so it looks exactly like you're holding a glass of a dark liquid. It doesn't matter how much that splashes, nobody will notice any discrepancy whatsoever. That glass is prepared and hidden in a case or your table or behind something. If you have a large enough table, you can set it behind one of these, but you need some place where you can put down the other glass that you openly pour the Coca-Cola into while your spectator is turned the other way with their eyes closed, or however you want to arrange it. So, in this case, the magic that happens for the audience is that they are fooled into believing that all you've done is poured a glass of Coca-Cola, and then you're going to take that can of Coke in your right hand and the actual glass of Coca-Cola here, and you're going to set the can down and come back out holding your prepared one, and it will look exactly like the one that you just poured out. You don't even have to worry about it. You're just holding on to it. This is just your prediction. That's all there is to it. You've made a prediction, and there it is. So you can now set that out in the open, and the magic that happens for them is that you are somehow able to peel the color off of it to change it into something else. So that's why I am revealing the method, because there are better methods for ink to water, but this is a great method for a kind of comedic. It's actually a little bit more suspenseful and surprising revelation when you strip the color of Coca-Cola away and put it in your pocket and give them the Sprite to take with them. That's how I'm using the trick. But now I have to have a reason why I want to do that revelation. So we're using the selection procedure here that you are probably mostly familiar with. This is a version of equivoke or equivoque, whichever way you prefer. Oh, by the way, do you prefer equivoke or equivoque? That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. Now we're going to put these 7 beverages into 2 bags. This is a great trick for any theater show that sells refreshments, because before the intermission, you can display the refreshments and perform a trick with them. But you could do this at a private party. You could do this in a regular show and just have the beverages with you and carry them with you. However you want to do it, all you're going to need are 7 different beverages and a duplicate of the one that you're forcing. In this case, we're forcing Sprite. So we're going to be putting the duplicate into one of the bags. Wherever the Sprite is arranged on the front, you put the duplicate into the opposite bag, and now you're set. So when you get to the point where you're going to put these into the bags, you grab the empty bag, make sure you don't forget which is which, you show it, and you start putting some beverages into it until you have 4 of them in this bag. But as you're doing that, you don't want people to keep track, to count where they are and which one's which. So as you're doing that, start putting some beverages into the other bag, and you will have 4 beverages in each bag, and each bag will contain a Sprite or whatever your force beverage is. So the first selection is the best. Spectator takes the 2 bags, mixes them around any way they want to, and tells you which one they want to eliminate. And it doesn't matter which one they eliminate, because each of these bags contain a Sprite. So that's going to be eliminated. We'll put it right over here. So now they have a bag that has 4 beverages in it, and here is where the actual equivocal language starts. So all you do is you say to them, just reach into the bag and take out any 2 of them and hand them to me. Now, I'm going to talk very briefly about how to handle the equivocal language. It is not a force, and you are not directing them to do anything. All you're doing is interpreting whatever action they take in your favor. So you will either be handed the Sprite or not handed the Sprite. It doesn't matter what else happens. If you are handed the Sprite, you say, "Terrific, we'll use those 2." And you simply get rid of the bag. Or if you are not handed the Sprite, as happened during the show, you say, "Are you sure?" And it doesn't matter if they change their mind as you're turning and putting them away. So you're interpreting what they've done, their action that you've given them, in your favor. So in our show, they handed me 2 that were not the Sprite, and I put them away with the other ones that were eliminated, interpreting it as being an elimination. But let's just say that they did hand me the Sprite. And I would say, great, we'll use those two. All I've said to them is take out whichever two you want and hand them to me. Simple phrase that allows you to interpret it. So you say, great, we'll use those two. And you hold on to them, and you can get rid of the bag and put it over to the side with the other one, and now you have these two. So at this point, you're just going to say, well, all right, we've got two beverages here. Why don't you take one away from me? Now, that phrasing is very important. Take one away from me. Very important. Because if they take the Sprite away from you, you say, terrific, that's the one you want, and you just immediately eliminate this. But if they take the other one, you say, take one away from me, and they take the other one, and you say, and, continue, put it with the others, and point them to there. So you can make that phrase continue, again, interpreted in your favor. But that will eventually get you down to the Sprite. Now, I should mention, in our case, since we have an open prediction, that is Coca-Cola, and this process is going on, that if you find yourself in a position like this, where you do not have a Coca-Cola, and the audience knows that it's Coca-Cola is the prediction, you go, well, at this point, it doesn't matter. You should play it off. You say, well, at this point, it doesn't matter, so take either one away from me. Doesn't matter. You see, it seems like it's gone wrong already. So you have to know what your acting is to make sure that it plays properly. Now, there's one situation that's really, really great. It'll only come up on a couple of occasions, and it would be this one. It could also happen with the Diet Coke as well. Now, the audience knows that you've predicted Coca-Cola because they see you pour that out openly, but if Diet Coke happens to be out there, you say, well, yeah, it's close enough, and then they'll laugh, and the spectator won't know what you're talking about. Remember, interpret the situation as though it's happening for real. But this is probably the best option. You've eliminated all of the others, and somehow you get down to just these two. Now, if you know, if these are out in the open, that's great. But if you also know that they're in the bag, you can bring them out and show them. Because you don't want to lose this opportunity if it happens to come up. So you say to the audience, look, we've gotten to exactly the place that I wanted to be. So here, just take either one of these away from me. Now, if they take this one away, you go and put it over there. Again, this is all acting, because the audience should think that you don't want to eliminate this one. So you have to make it seem unfortunate that that happened. But if you are in this situation and you say, and take one of those away from me, and they take that, and you say, are you sure you want that one? Again, interpreting it as though it's not supposed to happen. That's going to be the hard part of presenting this, is to make sure that you get the acting exactly right on that equivocal force. But hopefully, if you've got any experience with it, you'll do really well. Hold that for me. All card tricks pretty much start out the same way. Just touch the back of any one of those cards, any one that you want. That one right there. What's your name?
Bree.
Bree. Bree, take that card. Remember it, okay? And then, hi, how are you?
Hi.
You're new.
I am.
Yeah. You're probably not new to the world, but here, I haven't seen you before, so go ahead and just touch one. That one right there? And what's your name?
Jenna.
Jenna. All right, you take that one. Bree and Jenna have cards. And hi, I've seen you before. How are you? Good. Yeah, good. How have you been? How's the family? Yeah? All right, fantastic. Just touch a card. All right, that one right there. Go ahead and take that one. So 3 cards chosen from anywhere at all on the deck. I want you to look at the cards and remember them, and then hold them up so everybody except for me can see them. I'm going to turn away so that there's no possible way that I can know what those cards are. Now, just go ahead and, Bree, just put your card back in the deck absolutely anywhere at all. It is kind of bent up. That's going to make it a little easier for me to see it. And then do the same thing for me there, Jenna. That's fantastic. And then you, sir. No, I didn't want you to put yours in. Okay. Well, now you've messed the whole thing up. Why don't you go ahead and shuffle? Go ahead, just mix those up. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Who's got the box? Yeah, fantastic. Great. All right, so the cards are all shuffled. Pretty well? Yeah, close enough. Put them into the box. 3 random cards chosen. And then returned properly, and one guy shoved it back in before I was ready. So, and then I let you shuffle them. So I couldn't possibly know where the cards are, right? Got to tuck the ears in. That's embarrassing. Yeah. So if I couldn't possibly know where the cards are, I don't know what the cards are. Is there anybody here that thinks that I know exactly what the cards are? Somebody in the back? Yeah? Is there anybody here that thinks that I can find the 3 cards? Same people? All right. Then screw it. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to bring on the first. Should I do it anyway? Yeah. I mean, it's entirely up to you guys. It really is. You know, I don't have to do this. I can bring on the good guys. You know? All right. Fair enough. No problem. I'll try to make it interesting. Of course I know what the cards are and where they are. Of course. Why would I bother doing this if I didn't? But to make it interesting, I'm going to try to find the cards without touching them. So I'm going to leave them in the box so that I can't touch them. And I'm going to make them rise up out of the deck. Ooh. And you have the deck in your own grubby hands. You know there's nothing special about the deck of cards, yes? You're so suspicious. And I love that. That's okay. We'll start with you. Think about your card. You ready? Thinking about it? Watch. One card starts to rise up out of the deck. Is that your card? No? Jenna? No? Bree, yours? No? Yeah, it is. Jokers are wild. I got them all! Why so serious? Any fans of Batman here? It's the Joker. Why so serious? I know it doesn't look like the Joker from Batman. I'll fix that. Not only that, he's holding 3 cards in his hand over here. 3 tiny little cards. Yeah, look. See? A 3 of clubs, a 5 of diamonds, a queen of spades. Did I get your cards? Yes? Yeah, there you go. All right. That's the way to start a show. Well, to close out this lesson, this trick is an updated version of one that by modern audiences would not be able to play for a number of reasons. First of all, in the original trick, the character that pops out was Al Jolson. Now, if you're young enough and you don't know who Al Jolson was, you can look him up. He was a nightclub singer that worked in blackface. He was a white man who worked in blackface as though he was a black man back in the days when there were many, many white performers that were working in blackface and mimicking black singers. So nowadays, that certainly would not go over well, but back when he was performing, he was extremely famous. He became world famous. So he was kind of the Elvis of his day in a different genre, obviously. So in the original version, when the card would come out, it would be a king of clubs, and then it would transform into Al Jolson as the big finale. Well, obviously, that wouldn't play for a number of reasons nowadays. Nobody would recognize who it was, and it's kind of hard to find somebody that also fits that mode. Who is the king of clubs now? I tried thinking of other performers, maybe the queen of clubs or something like that. It still just didn't work. So then I hit upon the idea of using the Joker from Batman, which I think is a great solution to this, and by not having the other cards rise out. In the original version, there would be 3 cards selected. 2 of them would rise out normally. The third one, the king, would come out and transform at the end. I thought it would be much funnier, obviously, if just the Joker comes out, and it apparently has to substitute for the 3 cards. Then when it transforms, the Joker reveals the 3 selections. So to do all of that, there's quite a bit of work put into that device. It seems pretty simple when you think about it, but it's actually pretty complicated. And this is made in a very similar way to the one that is in the book, although this is made to stand alone in the card box. The other one was done in a wine glass, of course, because that was the style at the time, and you had to switch the decks in some other way, much more stage dependent. This could actually be performed close up Not terribly difficult to reset, but you'd have to refold the little gimmick in front of the audience. But this is it here, so let me just show you. There's a safety pin and the thread, and this is a very short length of thread on this safety pin here. I'd say that's about 10 inches long to the deck of cards. It goes in through the back, so there's a hole that goes right in through the back here, and then goes into the device, which is folded up on the inside. Now, back here, there are 4 cards that have been glued together. The thread goes through the case and then through a hole in those 4 cards. That's approximately a ½ an inch from the top edge of those cards. Then there is the folded joker, which I'll get to in a second. And then the front part is another block of cards that have just been taped together. It's another block of cards that have just been taped together down here at the bottom. I just used some shipping tape just to fill up the rest of the box. Now, this was not a suggestion in the original trick, but the problem is that once that card starts to rise up, sometimes those front cards can come up with it, and they would get in the way of the unfolding card. So it's much better to make that into a block of cards and put it in there like that, because it'll never be seen. So when this thread is pulled, it causes that folded card to come out. It's the only thing that would then move. So the front block stays in place, the back 4 cards stay in place, and everything that's folded up moves up behind the joker. Now, the joker is not a full card, it's a partial card. I'm going to pull it up holding the folded part in place and show you. It's a partial card, and the force of the joker's head unfolding flips that card behind the joker. The joker's arms are folded up behind it. I'll let those pop out. And that's the revelation, and then this card would fold down. Now I'm going to pull this away from the card box to show you how the whole thing is made. This is actually a very difficult thing to construct. If you've never made any kind of flap cards that are made with rubber or rubber bands in them, then this is extremely difficult. I would not recommend it as a beginner project, maybe not even intermediate. I've made lots of different gimmick cards, and for me, this was probably the most difficult thing I've made. As a matter of fact, here is my prototype, which did not work so well. That's what the idea of a prototype is. Here's the prototype. You can see it's too flimsy. It is also exceptionally thick. This was made with a kind of Bristol board that's used to mat for pictures in picture framing. So it's pretty thick, and you can see the rubber pieces between the levels here. This one, you have no room for anything else except this in the card box, and when it pops out, it just is too floppy. So I went back to the drawing board. For anything that's worth making, it's worth making 3 times. This one, I only had to make it twice to get it right. So on the second go at this, what I did was I took playing cards and spray glue, and I glued the cards together in pairs. So I would have a double thick card for every one of the layers. Then I laid the cards out in the pattern, and the pattern is this. It's very simple. You start with the body here. That's the body, and that's going to be a whole card that has been trimmed down 1/8 of an inch on each side. So that's the body of the device, and then there's another card next to it, another card next to that, another card here, and another card here, and then one above for the head. So it's 5 across and 2 up in the center. Then I cut out the rubber pieces, which is typically dental dam, but in this case, I've got another solution for you that you don't have to go through a dentist supply to find this. This stuff comes in long rolls, and it is an exercise band. Now you can find various, it's like an exercise rubber band. I've used quite a few pieces because it's typically even longer than this thing so that you can, stretch it under your leg and exercise with it. And this is this is a lightweight version of it, but basically it's the same kind of latex that you would find in a dental dam or just in a balloon for that matter. So if you really have to, you can cut open a large balloon and lay it flat and get the same kind of rubber from it, but this is what I like to use. It's a lot more practical. It isn't necessarily less expensive, But the problem is, if you're ordering your own dental dam, you have to typically order boxes of the stuff. So you get a lot of sheets that you don't need. With this, you can order one exercise band and be set for life. Now, the way that that is cut is you have a strip of it that's going across where the arms are going to be, and that strip is about 1 inch wide, and then you have a strip going up through the neck of the figure as well. So I'm just going to pull the pieces apart so you can see that little piece of rubber in between there. That is that same yellow rubber right there, and right there, and right there, and then the same thing for the neck, which is right up here. So there's a strip right there. So those are put on to those cards that have been laid out. You lay those cards out in that arrangement, and then you tape them in place using some painter's tape so that you don't damage them, but you tape them in place so that they'll stay tight together. You take super glue, and you super glue that rubber on to those pieces in that configuration that I've just explained, with the space, the gap in between, loose, but the super glue will hold it onto the card. Then there will be a loose part, so I'd have super glue here and here, but the loose part in between. So once those pieces have been glued, the rubber has been glued on there, and you stretch the glue from one piece to another. Super glue it here, stretch it to the other one, super glue it there. Long, tedious process, I know, but if you've ever made a flap card, you know what I'm talking about. And like I said, this is not a beginner level thing. You already have to kind of understand how to make flap cards to make this. Once you've done that, glued it all together, still taped down on your working surface, then you take a second layer of double thick cards and you glue them over each of the other cards so that they are not interfering with the rubber that's stretching the thing out. So all I do, makes it super easy, is I spray glue one side of those, I stick them down, and then that spray glued card will not interfere with this, but it'll stick solidly over the entire surface of the whole card. When you're done, you will have 5 cards wide and 2 tall in the center with the dental dam holding them together. At this point, you now apply your artwork to it, and very carefully, because you don't want to cut that piece of rubber, you very carefully cut between those pieces. So you're going to apply your artwork, apply some pressure back here, and then lightly cut it apart so that you get a separation. Then you very carefully with your X-Acto knife trim out the figure, and then you end up with this. Now you can make any figure that you want to, obviously, but in this case I've chosen the Joker, and you'll have to find your own artwork. I can't provide it because it needs to be licensed, but for your own personal use you can make whatever you want to. This one I had to make up myself. I obviously had to put different colored stuff in here, and I of course I put those cards in his hand. Those were not there originally. Those are going to be the 3 cards that you force. I had to change the position of his arms, so there's a lot of Photoshop work on this thing too. After you've done all that, if the thing works really well, which this one does, it's just the right amount of floppiness, pops out just right, and the head stays up nice and sturdy, so this one works beautifully. And you can see it's 4 cards thick with the rubber in between. Then, and only then, you attach that partial Joker, and you do it with a silk hinge. So that is a tiny piece of silk that has been super glued on to the edge of this card. There's a gap of about 1/4 of an inch in between to make sure that it will go over the front. And what will happen here is that this arm will be folded to the back and folded over like that. This arm will fold over here, and you'll notice how those are cut, again, 1/8 of an inch shorter than the previous card. Then this one folds over like that, and here. Then the head folds down, and that card on that silk hinge folds over the front like this. So this is the look from the back. You can see that silk hinge holding it here, and that's the look from the front. Now with all this turning around and showing it, you've got to make sure everything goes back straight where it's supposed to be. So this is here. Now, the thread is attached to the bottom of that card, super glued in front. So it goes through, a knot's tied into it, it's super glued in the front, and then there's this heavy-duty tape put on there to keep it from coming out. That is Gorilla Tape. It's the best stuff in the world. It just reinforces the super glued knotted thread so you don't have to worry about it. So those holes, this is the hole that's in the the 4 cards that are going to be behind it, when those holes line up, that's as high as the joker can go. When you push it down like this, that's going to be the position that it is inside the box. And that whole arrangement goes behind that other block of cards. Once you've done that, you will never have to pull out the front or back block of cards. All you have to do is pull the thread and everything will happen, like so. And then to refold the thing, all you have to do is flip that joker down, fold the arms in place, and tuck it back into the box. So, long process to make it, but absolutely practical and reusable for many, many, many performances. So now, you're going to fold that whole thing up, and everything fits in as though it's just a regular box of cards. That is going to be placed into your front left breast pocket with the thread facing toward you, and then the pin is going to go right above your buttonhole like this. Pin it in place, keeps the thread nice and straight, and you can completely forget about it. Okay? So it's also practical to use in your shows because it won't get in the way for anything else. Now, in addition to perform it like I did, you're going to need another deck of cards. This deck of cards is a normal deck of cards that has the 3 force cards, in our case, 3 of clubs, 5 of diamonds, and queen of spades, on the bottom of it in forcing position. That card goes into that pocket. It's going to go on the outside of the one that has the thread. So when you put it in there, you put it away from yourself, and it goes to the other side. So you have 2 decks of cards in that one pocket. You then button up, and you're ready to go. When you get ready to present this, you just, without unbuttoning your jacket, you just reach to the furthest deck away from yourself, and you pull it out. That's the normal deck. You force those 3 cards. Again, use your favorite method. You know what mine is. I showed you previously in the lesson. You just use that method over and over again. Any way you want to force those 3 cards. Then you can have them returned and shuffled back into the deck because you don't have to keep track of where they are. All you do now is you ask the question if the audience thinks that you can find their cards. Now, it doesn't matter whether they say yes or no. Typically, they're going to say yes. If you're any good at all as a magician, you say, do you think I can find your cards? And they say yes. And you go, well, then why should I bother? So what you're going to do now is switch the decks. You're going to put this one in and pull the other one out. If the audience says no, they don't think you can find their cards, then you say, well, then why should I bother? See, the response is exactly the same, gets a laugh either way, and it allows you to switch. The switch goes like this. You put this one away from yourself, immediately pulling the other deck of cards up and holding them right here at the edge. So don't pull them all the way out. You say, well, why should I bother? Well, really, it's like you're still putting it away and your fingers haven't come off of it. And then keeping it there, you go, but I'll do it if you want me to. Then they say yes, and you go, you're sure? And you pull it out a little bit more, and they say yes, and you go, okay. So now you just extend. This is the gimmick deck. You extend it until you can feel the pressure on the thread. The thread is running right here. So this is really nice because you don't have to pull it far away from your body. It even works with a light-colored outfit like this. Best, of course, to wear black if you're really close to people so they can't see it. But that thread is so well hidden. There's only a short piece of it right there. So now you just transfer from hand to hand. It looks really natural. Doesn't seem like there could be anything attached to it. You bring it out to this point. You open it, and then you say, okay, just to make it more exciting, I'm going to make your cards rise up. And then all you have to do is move your body slightly away, and that pulls on the thread, and that causes that joker to start coming out. Now, once you get comfortable with this, you know how far you can go before everything's going to explode, because you don't want everything to explode until the right moment. You need to get as much mileage out of this as possible and then set the audience up. So you say, is that your card? And they say no, no, and no. Then you peek at the card, and it's for the first time, apparently, that you're seeing it. And you go, oh, it's a joker. Jokers are wild. I got all 3 of them. You know, the jokes that you've already heard. Now, from the side, there's a little bit of stuff that's visible, but most people at that point think that, you know, the routine is either going wrong or you're just having some fun with them. Either way is fine. So eventually you say something to bring up the idea of Batman. I just like to say the line that the Joker often says, both in the graphic novels and also in many of the movies, why so serious? Most people recognize that. Now, if your audience is an older audience, you can say it like Jack Nicholson, why so serious, if you want. But not everybody's going to get that. So I work for a younger, let's say, hipper crowd that won't get it most of the time. So I just say, why so serious? Just in my own voice. And I let that sit in, because it's a weird phrase anyway. I let that sit in for a while, and then I go, who's a fan of Batman? And then people are like, oh, yeah. And I say, well, this doesn't look like the Joker from Batman. Now all you have to do is pull it forward to the extent of the thread. And it transforms instantly into the Joker. And you wait, and then you say, oh, and he's got some cards. And then people come in nice and close, and you go, look, it's the 3 of clubs, the 5 of diamonds, and the Queen of spades. Did I get your card? You got them all. Yep. They say yes, and you go, fantastic. That's what we have for the show tonight. It's a nice ending. Now, there are a couple of ways to go about this. If you're working this close-up and walk-around, obviously you're in a position where you have to do something with this to put it away. So my recommendation, if you're in close-up and walk-around, is start talking about whatever you're going to do next and fold it up gently and put it back into your pocket and you're ready to go. But if you're working on stage and you want to do something else, all you have to do is unbutton your coat and undo the pin with your left hand, which you should be able to do if you're a magician. So you've got the pin right here, see? So all you do is pull the bar down and undo it, and then pull the pin out, grab this with your left hand, and you can set it aside, and you've disengaged it, and now you can perform whatever it is that you want to perform. So, like I said, complicated build, but you could use it over and over again, and the best part about that is you haven't seen anything like that since the 1940s. It's pretty cool. Thank you for watching this lesson. I hope you've learned something you can use. A method, a subtlety, a presentation, perhaps even a full routine. I encourage you to tell me about your favorite parts of this lesson by leaving a review on the site. I read every one of them, and your feedback is important because I strive to create the best instruction possible for you. It'll only take a moment, and everyone will benefit from what you have to say. So, until next time, keep learning, practicing, and performing. I'll be with you every step of the way. See you soon.